Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by. Okay,
Yeah.
Yacht, sir.
Yeah,
Take it.
take it at midfield.
Okay,
Just go
take
right
it.
now.
Up
Go to
to
camera
12.
3.
Can
3.
you
Go to the perfect, just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the perfect, just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q, Sophie.
Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
All right, and go for it, guys. Indeed, it is Friday night, 8 p.m. Happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. We're, of course, love kicking off our weekend with you guys here in the zone. Myself and, of course, my cohort, Ricky. Ricky, what's going on, man?
Hola, everybody. Thank you once again for coming to us on Friday. And thank you from both Willie and I for starting your weekend with the happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club.
That's right.
Brought to you by SCN Canal Zone, where you can catch us every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube or Facebook. Thanks again for joining us, everybody, and salute. It is our happy hour.
Salute.
Let's get this weekend started.
Yes, and you can catch us on YouTube and Facebook, but we would prefer YouTube. And hi, Sheila. Only because we're trying to grow the audience there to get the algorithm to spread out more. There's a lot of Zonians that aren't on social media, aren't on Facebook, and so they still look for Canal Zone content and look at YouTube. Everybody looks at YouTube, so we want to get as many people on there. So if you are on YouTube, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button so you can follow us there. But it's January, mid to late January. We're getting into the tail end of January, and there wasn't that long ago that was just we talked about the dry season, and we a lot of cool things that we transitioned to in Panama in the dry season. Obviously, baseball season is a big one, the Cayuca race and things like that. But nowadays we get to the end of January and we start thinking about Canal Zone reunion, and so those guys are doing it right around the corner there. So that's going to be really cool to see what they're doing. I was talking to Alex. We of course had him on last week and had a lot of a lot of Canal Zone reunion information. It's funny when I messaged him earlier in the week, he was going to come on for like 15 minutes and then ended up being the whole show. He felt bad
There was a
afterwards,
lot
and I
to
was like,
talk about.
it was absolutely, and it was very engaging. I mean, it everybody in the audience kept commenting and asking questions and getting a lot of great information. So at the end of the day, it was exactly what this show's about is Zonian memories, and in this case, helping with that reunion. It's going to bring back a lot of Zonian memories, especially for the class of 85, and I think it's what the class of 80 and whatnot that are down there. So. But
Yes. And guys, this is exactly what you can expect from watching this show. Like Willie said, school memories from both Babo High School and Cristobal High School. Matter of fact, Willie, one of our best shows was the 89 class where we had both schools together.
yes, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Yes, you can also expect to hear about the work life in the Canal Zone, about life in general in the Canal Zone. We also have an historical episode with our Canal Zone historian, David Dahlstrom.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we bring you all the updates of the Canal Zone reunion, which is hot right now, the Panama Canal Society, the University of Florida Canal Zone collection. Plus, we bring you all the latest bochinche on a weekly basis. Yes, we have segments of U.S. Panama news. We have segments of Host Nation, where we give you fun facts about Panama. We give you recommendations on some restaurants. But our favorite segment that Willie and I both like is Back to the Spillway.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We love it. And it's a great spillway collection on the University of Florida website, guys. We promote that a lot. and we just think they're doing a phenomenal job of restoring our history and all the things that we're about. So listen, guys, our second toast go to
Sure.
all those people that keep this
Indeed,
alive.
they absolutely do
Indeed.
a fantastic job. You know, salute to those guys up there in Gainesville at the Panama Canal Museum collection. You know, they have digitized a lot of things, but they also have a physical presence there in an actual physical museum. So check them out. Uh, they also, like the society, they have a membership program, and it helps keep them funded and doing all these great things to preserve these memories that we all certainly are trying to do, you know, here as well. But
Mhm.
um, check them out, and I think it's $26 a year
Yeah,
for a
that's it.
membership
Yeah,
there. So
exactly.
you know, that's a, I mean, heck, you can nowadays, unfortunately, spend that in McDonald's and not have a whole lot to show,
Starbucks.
man. You know, so yeah, exactly. A couple of coffees at Starbucks will cover a membership to the museum for a year. So definitely check them out. There's the website. We're going to show you later on the website, and you know, kind of maneuver around there to show you how we get to the spillway, because they do have an amazing collection of the spillway. It's digitized in very high resolution. You can zoom in on all the pictures. Um, they're as high quality as the picture was in the newspaper at the time when it came out. So it's certainly not going to be, you know, high def digital like you're accustomed to here in 2025, because you know this collection goes back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But nonetheless, it really is a high quality collection, and it's so much fun to go in there and read that stuff, because the cool thing about the spillway was, you know, it was our community newspaper. So every so often you'll see articles in there, and they mention people that were friends, family, you know, certainly,
Pictures. Yeah.
yeah, and all those great pictures. So check them out. Look at that later on today as well. We're going to kick off our first segment of K Pasa, which was a weekly segment on SCN. And it was only like 5 minutes long. It was a very short segment, but it kind of talked about something going on in the zone. It was more geared towards our servicemen and women. Um, but we're borrowing that theme to throw out announcements and things that are going on in the Zonian community right now that are being put out there. We're going to keep sharing those things to kind of spread the wealth, and then, like Ricky said, we're going to do that spillway episode or segment, because that, when we did those in the past, we got a ton of feedback how much fun people had looking through those and going back through all the things, even the TV guides, just to see what was on TV back then and the TV shows and what we were doing. And to keep in the spirit of the reunion classes and the class of 75 who has their reunion this year, they'll be joining us in February for a reunion show, or a couple of reunion shows. But we're going to do the spillway from 1974 leading up, you know, to that graduation year, because obviously school started for these guys in 1974, their senior year, and then it went on through New Year's, and then finally June of 75, their graduation year. So it's going to be fun to see what was going on in 74 in the spillway and in the zone. But yeah, I'm excited for this, and Ricky's, you know, been a real champion of bringing this back, you know, and pushing that show, and then along with our Panama Canal, you know, and relationships and whatnot. We've been bouncing around different ways of doing this. Um, and I think it's just something that as the news presents itself, we'll talk about it more so than just always having a regular, you know, segment, because while we think these are interesting things, and it's something that's certainly a hot topic, uh, the true nature of this show really is to reminisce about the Canal Zone, and you know what it was like to live down there back in the day, you know, before Trump said he's going to take it back, and, and all that good stuff. And so, you know, rather than digressing there now, we'll just leave it as is. And like Ricky said, we have a lot of really cool things with these history shows and everything else. So um,
Yeah, yeah, but we do have a final analysis so that we can uh, uh, X out some of the noise or rhetoric and kind of leave our viewers with our final analysis. For the time being, like Willie says, if something hot comes up, of course we'll talk about it. But for the last 4 weeks, we have been talking about this. But this is after 4 weeks of putting everything together. This is our final analysis, and I think Willie and I have been informing you guys quite well and on point. So we
yeah,
do
for
have
sure.
one final go at it, Willie, and then we're kind of mellow out and wait, let things kind of develop.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you talk about that, Ricky, and truth is, and not to sound like we're bragging, because we're really not bragging about this, but you know, Ricky and I have a history. Uh, on the political spectrum, we're certainly on opposite sides, and we've had some vigorous debates in the past, and in fact, some people wonder now, how do you two get together and do a show together? And a lot of people don't realize Ricky and I go way back, and in fact, we later on found out later on years that we're actually cousins. So, which makes a lot of sense now. But the place where we found common ground is the Panama U.S. relationship, and that's the one place where it's not left or right. It's Zonians and wanting the United States in some way, shape, or form, always being that big brother to Panama, and continuing that relationship. So it's, at least in that sense, a lot of this recent chaos has, we have spent years looking into different things like foreign relations and different government things and politics and so forth. So now we're applying that skill in a way that we have. And to Ricky's point, we've had some great conversations about this, and not everybody agrees with it. A lot of people, in fact, Ricky was pointing out that some people aren't happy with some of the way we cover this and what the supposed angle is. But at the end of the day, I think Ricky, I think I can speak for both of us to say that we want the U.S. and Panama to be first and foremost. And to what extent, who knows?
Yeah. But this analysis is going to be about how everything has settled in for what's coming next,
Yep.
and that's what that's going to be. But we're not going to jump into that just yet. That's in the bochinche. We're
Yeah.
still doing our announcements. And by the way, Willie, you know what happened today in history? Quite a lot of great things. Speaking of all the stuff with Trump as well, Willie, 1917, right?
Okay.
The
Now it's
U.S.
been open for
purchased.
3 years.
Yeah, the U.S. actually purchased 3 islands for $25 million from none other than Denmark. Oh, that's been on the
Ah,
news
about that.
lately.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do have a history of buying from Denmark.
So
Some
Uncle
of their
Sam needs to
properties.
find that realtor again and see if we can't work out
Yeah, see if we
another.
can get Greenland from them. But they bought today in
Interesting.
history. They got the
Okay.
Virgin Islands. They got St. Thomas and St. John's.
Ah, very
Yeah, so we
interesting.
bought those for $25 million on today.
It's good to know.
And
That's good to know.
yeah, but and here's something else we did today. But this was back in 1893, right when the United States was getting to that point where they're starting to grab land, right? Because everybody else was grabbing land.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were the only ones. We were like the 5th strongest power back then. So all the big powers were actually in Africa, taking all the land
Sure.
there, and in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, because everything
So
here had already been taken pretty much.
had been taken, right. So this is when we started taking. So in 1893, some of my Hawaiian buddies are going to hate me that I brought this up. This is when the U.S. overthrew the Hawaiian monarchy and installed one of an American businessman, Dole, from the Dole Cannery.
Okay.
And he was installed today as president of the provisional government of Hawaii. So those 2 big things happened today in history, Willie.
Very interesting. Hold on.
Yeah.
A little bit of a studio
What did you
difficulty.
have? What happened to you?
A little bit of crashing of the studio here, but I think we've got it.
Every time we talk about the Chinese, man, we get in trouble.
We do. Something happens every time. Isn't that amazing? Alarm, man. Jeez. Unbelievable.
Oh my god! Hey,
All
we
right.
even had. Remember, Willie? We had a commentator that we didn't figure it out till afterwards. That guy was like so pro China, and we were here going, yeah, cool, man, right on. And he was this guy that was just pro China
He
watching our
was.
show.
He
And
was.
now that we read the comments, we're like, oh man, how did we miss that?
Yeah, I'm
But
not sure who that
anyways,
was. That was
a couple of weeks back. Yeah.
interesting news there. But the U.S. kind of came to be, or came to blossom at the tail end of colonialism. So they they had slim pickings of what was left,
Slim pickings,
but
yeah.
you can't argue that they didn't get a really, really big piece of gold in Panama and the Canal Zone.
And Hawaii.
And Hawaii
So,
certainly
yeah.
at that point as well, right? So,
Yeah.
I think they might have not got too much, but what they got was pretty darn good. So,
Yep.
but
But in many ways, Panama was lucky because it was going to actually be in Nicaragua. If it wasn't for that
Yeah,
French guy that convinced the Americans, no, you want to come over here, we've
absolutely.
got we already started over here, right. So actually
Yeah,
got
no,
pretty
it's
lucky.
so funny how that whole story played out, and then even when Colombia had it in their hands, and their Senate
Well, they
said,
got greedy. They got
"Yeah, they
greedy,
sure did."
and Roosevelt wasn't going to have it. So it's like,
No, he
f those guys. Let's go get those Panamanians.
like
Well,
I
not.
said,
It was
he knew
actually the
that that
French guys.
window for colonialism was closing, man, and that window for America to put his footprint somewhere else was rapidly closing, and so he said, "Hey,
Yeah,
you
because
know
the
what?
Germans were also interested
That's
in
right.
getting into the canal, because I think the Colombians owed them a bunch of money for their civil war, that we know, the Thousand Day War,
Correct.
that we've talked about several times on this
Correct.
show. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
It's amazing.
it was amazing. All those ducks came in a row,
Yep.
and here we are, a country, a brotherhood,
Some could
and a
argue divine
happy hour
proclamation.
show to talk about it.
Yes, indeed. I'll toast to that, my friend. Hell yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you
Primo.
what. So speaking of the Germans, if you're gonna drink beer, drink
There you
German
go.
beer,
There
man.
you go. Salute or whatever they say in Germany. Something, whatever the hell that is. But
They actually have
yeah.
this word called Panama, and they use it for, like, if you're in trouble, you don't go help. You say Panama.
Right.
Yeah, and that's big in Germany. So this guy's on YouTube or Instagram, and talked about the history of that. Apparently, it's like a nursery school story.
Okay.
And for some reason, somebody went to Panama and came back and saved a life or something. But it's like a Cinderella story to us in Germany, and that's why the word Panama to every German means, you need help or something like that.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
it's a
Well,
cute story. It's a cute story. Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
is absolutely.
The
And thank
that
you,
the
Dodd, for pointing out that we are fair and balanced. And we listen. We do try and carry all sides of it. There. It's not something that we're. I mean, like I said, we do lean Canal Zone because that's what we grew up in, and it's the whole
yeah,
show
yeah,
is to preserve
right.
that.
And everybody that
Circumstance.
knows,
I mean,
Willie,
think about prior to
sorry.
December and prior to Trump's comments, we were all kind of in the same line here, just going back in time and just remembering what the zone was like, never thinking about, okay, what's going to happen if this happens and can we get it back? That wasn't even a topic of conversation ever on our show until until December 20th, and then all of a sudden, boy, did it
Oh
change
yeah, but
everything.
it's been good. But no, we always do talk about the great relationships that
Oh
that
no, we
we've
do.
had.
I know without a doubt. I'm just saying that there's never any talk of getting the Canal Zone back or going back there
No,
to
no, no,
none
no.
of that until this commentary, and suddenly it's just blown up. But to Dodd's point, there we do definitely want to stay, fair and balanced, and that's what we do here. So look, and Jason Curtini's on. Good to see you, brother. Dude, yeah,
Hey,
he should be on
Jason.
there.
Hey, but Willie, I'll tell you what. Let's be fair. Everybody who knows me, especially my family, they all know my whole dream is for the entire nation to be Zonian, right? Because that's
Right.
how I grew up. And why
Yeah.
wouldn't I want what I had for every other Panamanian? So,
Yeah. And
I
there's a lot
do
of
have
Panamanians
I
still
do
want
have
that
that
back.
bias. I do have
Yeah.
that bias, right? And
Well,
then here's the other thing. I tell everybody, it's in the treaties. It could happen.
yeah. It is. Next week we're going to try and touch on that a little bit because that neutrality treaty is one that we really got to take a better look at because there's a lot of
Yes.
different opinions and beliefs as to where that is going or what doors that opens or what doors that closes for the United States and Panama. So it'd be an interesting debate, and it'd be good to have some people on maybe that have some knowledge of that as well. It'd be good to find out, but. Nonetheless, that's for another day. Here, the show must go on, and one of the things again that we want to do here is not just go back into the zone and memories, but also you know support other efforts to do that. And so what we're going to do here with this K Pasa segment is, among other things, we're going to have Alex Reyes joining us. We're going to have Thane Wheeler joining us, and between those three groups, ourselves and those two groups, we're really going to start trying to build a more cohesive canal zone community, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so, you know,
With the commissary.
with the commissary, certainly, and our website, and there's some interesting projects in the works there that we're looking at doing with some email and stuff that we'll be hopefully bringing up here soon. But this whole community concept really is a place where we want to get the whole canal zone together, and part of it is keeping people in the loop, and so on some days we'll have those guys on and talk about what the latest is with the community and how we're growing it and what initiatives we have going on. But on other days it's just going to be like the actual K Pasa was in the spillway, or on TV in the zone, which was only like a 5-minute show. It was just a very short show, and it talked about something going on. And again, it was mostly military leaning, but we're going to borrow it and use it more to just put out some canals on information and stuff. So, but see if you recognize this tune, because I've looked around for a ton of K-Pasa stuff and I couldn't find anything. I finally found a video that somebody put together, a documentary a long time ago of the Canal Zone, and in the middle of this long documentary, there was a short segment on a segment of K Pasa. And as soon as I heard that, immediately I was like, oh yeah, I recognize that. So see if you guys recognize this tune, and let's kick off this K Pasa segment.
SCN Television presents K-Pasa. And now here's this evening's host, Army Sergeant Bob Foster.
Good evening and welcome to K-Pasa. We've got two guests tonight. First Sergeant First Class Jim Webb. Sergeant Webb's with the 227th Military Police Detachment. He's the kennel master.
So there you go. That's K Pasa. So you remember that was a tune. And again, that show was very, very short. It was only a few minutes long, but it kind of gave you some information on things going on. And that's what we're going to be doing here tonight. So again, real quick, guys, as far as announcements go, the society, remember, they have a drive now for this upcoming reunion, that if you register for the Pan Canal Society reunion before the 7th of February, so we're now, 2.5, 3 weeks away from that.
3 weeks.
You're entered into a drawing for 2 free nights at the Rosen and Shingle Creek. Okay, a really cool place.
Two drawings.
Yeah, two. Yep, there you go. So good odds on that one. So definitely keep an eye on that, and make sure you check them out. Again, Pan Canal Society. Go visit them and join the society, guys. $50, which is really next to nothing, gets you a membership in the society and help support them and keep this Canal Zone story going. So keep that in mind, though, that drawing before February 7th. Join the society and register and get your room locked in for the reunion. If you have a class reunion, make sure you do it soon enough so you can get into one of those blocks with a lot of your classmates. It's really cool in your class reunions to have all your friends and classmates nearby you, so you're not going all over the hotel to find people. They're all kind of in that one section.
Different towers too.
Yeah, but they run out quick, so get yourself in front of that line. There's no Zonian favors here and no palanca. You just gotta first come, first serve, right?
You know me. I know Rain Arroyo.
Yeah, so you might have some palanca there, but definitely check them out. So, and then from there, this is last week we had a full house with Alex talking about the reunion. It's pretty much done at this point, guys. There's not a whole lot left to do. Certainly no planning left at this point, but check them out. Don't forget, guys, if you still want to sign up for anything or see what's going on, that's the website, mieventos.com, and then look for that event detail, Canal Zone Reunion. But on the screen there, you can see this is what's left on that Mi Eventos. Check for the different dates for all the events, what's going on there. And remember, guys, that Elks Club is sold out. But like Alex said, man, just show up and see what happens.
Just show up. You guys can, all the Panamanians, you guys can definitely get in. There's not going to be a problem.
Zonian style. So, and then next one, never too late to get started. In fact, obviously a little earlier is better. But my class reunion is for next year in the Canal Zone, the Panama reunion. We already started getting our planning committee together. So any of you class of 86, make sure you look us up. Balboa High School class of 86 is the Facebook page. Join on there and make sure you get yourself involved and included, and let's start getting that plan ready to go. Rick, I think your class is going to be
86. My little brother Roby's 86.
Well, Roby's 86, but I think 81 is going to be your 45th, reunion. So definitely check them out. But I know, right?
45.
I know. My oldest daughter is 30, man. So that's kind of the eye-opening thing there when you get to those ages. But you know what it is.
If you live a good life, that's 45 years of like being my senior year. I'm on my 45th year of my senior year, bro.
And I will go out on a limb and say that if you lived a Zonian life, you
Which
know,
I have, which I have my whole life.
we've lived a better life than most people have.
Most people,
Honestly,
yeah. Yep.
really think we have. But
Yep.
anyway, I think we're a little biased on that one, but I don't think most people would argue that. So anyhow, class of '86 BHS, check it out and get yourself involved. We're gonna have some really cool things set up for that one. Not sure what's going on with Cristobal CHS '86, but stay tuned. And if you have something going on, let me know. I'll be more than happy to put it out there. And then last but not least, again, the class of '75, they put out a notice a couple days ago that they're doing a slideshow. So they need email them at czbrat75 at gmail if you're a class of '75, and send in a few photos or whatever to help those guys get a really cool class of '75 reunion. A lot of them are going to be down there in Panama, but this is for the reunion in Orlando in July. So get involved. They have a cool page as well, Class of '75 Facebook page. So make sure if you haven't joined them, you're from that graduating class. Make sure you log in and get involved with those guys. But that's our K Pasa there. That's our cool little new segment. Just community
Ricky,
information, guys. If you have an organization like Jim Duffus with his 900 golf tournaments and all that stuff, but let us know. Throw them out there. We're more than happy to put them out there and remind Zonians of what the Zonia community has going on today and tomorrow. So, um, yeah, there you go, man. So that's kind of cool. That tune, I remember the first time I saw that. By the way, what is the name of the band that plays that tune?
didn't we do this already?
I think we did. We'll see if anybody remembers. But let me see if you guys remember out in the band or look it up. But who plays that tune there for the K Pasa theme show or the theme song for the K Pasa show? Hey, Michael, what's up, man? Good to see you, brother. So yeah, let us know if you know what it is in the chat there. I will say this: in the name of the band, there's a musical instrument term, right? We'll just leave it at that. But
It's gotta be the trumpet. We gotta give him some hint.
well, the trumpet would be one of those instruments. That would.
Oh, a band with instruments? Oh,
Well,
great.
but think about the name of the band in that album, right?
Hmm.
It was somebody and the something something, and the last part
Going
is basically
once,
those instruments.
going twice.
So there it
Give
is.
that,
All
Willie.
right, we got it. We ding ding ding. We have a winner. CZ Axis Tijuana Brass. That's right. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. It's such a. I was listening to that tune, and my wife walks in, and I mean, I was digging it, man. I'm listening to this, and I was like, "Wow, isn't that great?" And she's like, "Really?" Because if it had nothing to do with K-Pasa, there's no way any of us would be listening to that. But it had that nostalgia, so I thought it was really cool, man. And she's like, "Dude, you're weird, man." I was like, "No, you don't understand. It was K-Pasa, man. It was, So anyhow, I guess you have to be a Zonian to appreciate Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, right? But
You know what? I
nonetheless,
think our school bands used to play that song too at football games and stuff like that.
probably
I
because
think I
that was the
recall
tune.
that song. Yeah, I think I recall that song being played at the Balboa Stadium.
It played
I'll tell you
every
what, those
Wednesday
bands
night.
were good. Yeah, those
They
bands that
were.
played at those games were super good.
And they were an integral part of that whole. That was Friday night, man. And that was
Yeah,
early in the evening. Friday started.
and it wasn't just like five of them. I mean, there was like 30 of them that would show up
Yeah.
and play. And then the Kurundu kids would come in and jam with them as well.
And what's
So
funny is
yeah,
you think about sometimes for that whole Friday experience, especially for somebody that maybe lives. Take for example that tonight on the show, Jason Curtides, he lived out in Las Cumbres, so sometimes it wasn't practical to go back home. And remember Friday night went all the way out to where we are here tonight, the Yacht Club, and so for some of these
well,
people, I bet.
for kids, it was the Owl Show. It ended with the Owl Show at 2 a.m.
Correct. But either one of those, you start during football season, you have football after school and whatnot. So for some of these people, I imagine, and I'm curious, I wonder if that was the case for Jason or these Las Cumbres folks. Did you leave the house at what 6, 7 in the morning and not return till 1 o'clock in the morning after because you know back in those days it was a long drive to go from the zone to Las Cumbres. It wasn't this quick highway thing that you have nowadays, I guess. So that made for a long day of Friday night in the zone for some people, man. During football season, I guess. Baseball wasn't the same, you didn't really have a lot of people going to games. The only people who went to games were our parents. That pretty much was it for
And
me.
girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there wasn't baseball. You didn't have a lot of that. Certainly not basketball, soccer. Forget about it. Soccer. I don't even think you played at night. I think those games were in the afternoon.
Yeah,
But
but if there wasn't football season, then there was a skating rink on
yeah,
Friday nights. There was the
correct.
the gap or the bridge, depending on when you grew up, on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And the bowling alley was also big on Friday nights. Of course, the clubhouse was huge on Friday
What
nights.
else? What did you guys do on Friday nights, guys? Remember back in the zone when it wasn't football season? Because football season was a big draw, especially if you had, a Red Machine Bulldogs game. Forget about it, man. That was jam packed. That was like a Kiwanis Rams game on Saturday nights, but on Friday nights, they were, it's funny when I tell people that here in the States that we had two football teams, you know, and in the same high school. And they're like, really? And a little technical difficulty there. All right, you got something on the speaker there. It's getting a little the pub. What's the pub, Michael? I don't recall the pub. Wasn't that the rail car over by the baseball fields?
Yeah,
Okay, right on. There you go. Yeah, I never went to that. I had heard about it, but I never had gone to the pub. That's cool. Right on. Yeah. What else is
yeah.
out there, guys? What else were the hangouts there? The chicken coop, El Rancho. I mean, those were,
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. That definitely Friday night.
yeah,
Yeah, but you had to be at least a senior to get in there. If you weren't at least a senior, you weren't getting in.
yep. The teen club was cool, and that's something we had talked about doing the
That's the
that
gap.
Zonian Hangouts show, right? And different places that people used to go to. The slide. There was a place in Los Rios, and don't say it, Ricky, but let's see who can remember that place. Dodd, you should
A
know.
super secret
Yes,
hideaway.
it was a hideaway that was. There was only a select few people used to know about that place. I think more people knew it than not, but I think people had heard about it, knew about it, but they didn't know where it was for real and didn't know how to get there. But we'll see if Dodd can remember and chime in here. I know he's got to know it. He's got, if he's still listening, he'll throw it in there in the chat. But that was a hangout. The slide was a cool place, and that was pretty funny. You telling us about the Bernasconis. They get into that slide and they're like, "Pfft, what? Come on,
Yeah, it's
man."
the first time they came to the Canal Zone. For some reason, I met them like the first week, so I brought them out with us. We're all at that time. It was like going into my senior year, so we were all hanging out the slide. And I brought the Bernasconis with me, and these guys were skiers from Vermont. So we go to the slide. We would be like, spin around. That was like the most acrobatic we got, right, or something like that. And all of a sudden, these Bernasconi skiers show up, and these guys are flying in the air, doing twirls like that in the air,
That's
landing
hilarious.
perfectly. And we were just all like, what the heck?
Who
I
the hell
mean,
are these
talking
guys?
about fitting right in from day one were the Bernasconi boys.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect. Well, I told you Dodd would get it because there it is, the void. That was it. That was in Los
that's
Rios. That was
correct. You had to have like a password to growing up, I wasn't like invited, so I never knew where it was.
yeah,
So
that's it.
you had to be like
It was a
yeah, it was a
select group
select
of
group,
people that went
right?
there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it had to be that like you had to have like Los Rio ties or
Yeah.
you weren't
Right.
getting in. El
Yes.
Rancho
Yeah.
for sure, man. El Rancho was one of the great hangouts.
This is another one I've heard of, the library. What's the library? I've heard that term before, but I mean, unless it
I
was the
think it was
actual
right next
library.
to El Rancho, wasn't it? Right next to El Rancho?
Okay.
It was like the dirty nap, so to speak.
Okay. Okay. Look at Dodd talking
I
about the
think,
void.
I think, I think something. I think someone told me that. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
remember.
okay, we'll have to find that one out. That'll be for that
Had to be
Zonian hangout
Jerry,
segment.
not me. Jerry would get in trouble like that.
So Dodd talking about the void said the military cops used to chase us out of there all the time. The void was yeah, right on.
Oh, that was on the
That-
military side, like
well, it was
Albrook.
because you have remember in Los Rios you backed into Albrook and then you backed into Corozal. So you had Army on one side, you had Air Force on the other side.
Got it, got it.
Because when you go down Gaylord Highway, when you leave Los Rios, you make that left. You go down Gaylord Highway. The next left is the light to go into the commissary there, and then right after that's Albrook, the front gate.
Mm-hmm.
So everything back there was, that hill that you see, like from the admin, you look back across the runway and you see that hill going up. The backside of that hill is Los Rios. Yeah, that's cool, man. A good memory there, Don. Hell yeah, right on. All right, what does Jill have to say? I want to gear some El Rancho. Yeah, we do want to hear some El. Yeah, we're gonna do that, guys. We're gonna throw together a segment that we'll throw together every so often, called Zonian Hangouts or something like that, and we'll promote it ahead of time so people can kind of prep up and go, hey, this week we're going to talk about El Rancho, for example. Let's get some stories going. And that'll be fun to really go back into, because that was
Yeah.
part of what we all grew up in, was these Friday
Yeah.
nights going and
El Rancho had like 3 different bars, like a
okay.
Zonian
Yeah, I never
bar,
went to El
I
Rancho
think
either. I have
like a
no idea.
Panamanian / army, military bar, and then a bar where all the fathers that were there should not be.
Right. Right, exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, there was some hangouts
I'd
there
be
for
like,
sure.
hey, isn't that my uncle? Like, don't I know that guy over there? And I'd be like, hey, isn't that somebody, my relative of mine? What the hell are they doing at that bar? Yeah.
It was actually behind the commissary, technically called Diablo Heights. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Oh,
Behind the
okay. So it was
commissary.
on. So Dodd, was it then on the other side of
Oh,
of
Gaylord
of
on the
of
what the hell would
Gaylord,
that be?
and then what was the other road that was, the railroad tracks, sandwiched by these two roads, Gaylord and the other one. They ran parallel.
Gaylord and no, not Frangipani. What would the other one
No,
be called?
no,
Roosevelt? No,
no, I don't think it was Roosevelt. Because remember, you caught that one right at the railroad
Hotel.
crossing where you came and turned over, was where the fire station was, the Coralzal fire station. And you had that long straight. At the end of it was the sheds on the left, and then the hill for Diablo. Interesting.
Yep.
I'll have to look
I
into
know
that a
those
little bit
sheds were
more.
all. That's another thing we should talk about is those sheds. Whoever had sheds, they were all spread out around the canal zone. Like
They
behind my
were,
house,
man.
Prado,
They
there
were
was
just
some
a select
sheds
few.
there. Yeah, there were some sheds on the road to like where you lived. Like
Yeah,
right there by that little
by Gavilan, by the entrance to Gavilan.
yeah, there was a little sheds there. So they're like all spread out throughout the zone.
Well, we're gonna
And they
look at a
all had a
map
lock
tonight
on
about
them.
that whole Gavilan area, if I can still find it. Where some of those, because in that spillway episode we're covering tonight, they put some new houses in there in '74 in that one road there behind to get going towards Gavilan. So we'll see where
Mhm.
those sheds you were talking about were. But technically called Diablo Heights, sandwiched between Albrook and Los Rios, the Void. Okay, that's what I thought. So it was, and that was called Diablo Heights. That's interesting. Although maybe back then you didn't have Gaylord Highway and all that stuff, so I could see where that would be known
No,
that
we
way.
had Gator Highway, but
No, no, I'm
really that
talking
was
about
Diablo Heights, huh?
when they named that Diablo Heights, may not have been
Oh,
Gaylord
got it,
Highway.
got it, got it. Hear what you're saying. Because
You
I
know,
thought Diablo Heights was over where their clubhouse was.
yeah, like the 24 hours and all that. Yes, that's what I always thought too. Right on. All right, Dodd Dupree, a little pinch hitting for Dave Dahlstrom, our Canal Zone historian. Well done, well played. Heck yeah, man. Those kind of hangouts should be silent memories. Boys will be boys. Yeah, no doubt, man. Listen, that was a cool thing about growing up in Panama. You could almost, Zonians in some ways could almost be like those early Americans growing up in the US in the 13 colonies. They were British, but they were different, right? And for most of us Zonians, American but different. There's a lot of things that we did that had that Panamanian or that Latin
Hanging
flair
out in the
to it.
jungle.
Yeah, for sure. Section I Road. That's what it was. Well, so I guess Section I Road. Then Paul. I'm assuming is it Paul Gibbs in that name there? But the Section I Road, I always knew it from Diablo to Pier 18, but did it continue on to Corozal then? So would that the whole
I
thing be
think so
Section
because
I?
I think it's the same road, Willie. I don't
Yeah,
think there was a turn or anything other than
makes
that
sense.
that 4-way light at Diablo.
Okay,
Up the hill.
right on. My dad had one by St. Mary's. Yeah, that was the one. The ones there on Amador Road that
Yeah,
went right before that. I think it was that Plank Street that you turn in right before, in between those sheds and the YMCA, and that's the road you turn on. That's where they put those new houses, which we're going to see later on in the map.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think now they're like 7-Eleven and stuff like that. Little mom and pop stores now. those
Oh, very
sheds.
cool. Very cool. That's they took everything in the zone and made it commercial, every piece they could, man. And that's the one unique thing about the zone. Other than pretty much government offices and some support offices, everything there was residential, right? If you think about it. There wasn't a lot of commerce. There wasn't restaurant. I mean, think about it. If you went out to eat, you went out to eat pretty much in Panama or on the
Officers
base.
Club,
Yeah, right, right. I mean, a clubhouse, but that was more like an eatery in a sense, more like a lunch place.
cafeteria, yeah. But
Yeah,
the officers clubs always had good restaurants, like the one in
yeah.
Corey
That's what I'm saying.
Heights
But
was
the
good.
but the but the
Albrook had a
canal
good
zone,
one.
the
Amador had
civilian
a good one.
Balboa Canal Zone area there was not that was one that wasn't a place to go out for food entertainment.
There was the American Legion. That was a good restaurant.
Yeah. It was few and far between. Yeah, Elks Club, I guess. Even a bowling alley. I mean, there was some amazing empanadas at the bowling alley. Uh, you know, so
They had the beer machines at the bowling alley. I don't know if you guys remember that.
yeah,
35 cents. They had a
that's
beer
right.
machine.
They did. Listen, when I worked in Tocumen for Copa, they had beer machines. They were 50 cents then, but yeah, you'd get. We'd wait for the van to pick us up at 6 p.m. when our shift was up, because no, you're not going to drive to Tocumen every day. But so we'd all be sitting around there, and 50 cents, you get a beer, just have a couple of beers for the ride home, and nobody would hassle you. I mean, you're in Panama, so that's very cool. And then next to the church.
Oh, St. Mary's Church. You're right. Back there was another
Oh,
group.
yes, 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 yes. That's right. That's right.
There's only one church in the canals. Oh, no, I'm only kidding. I'm
Yeah,
only kidding. I'm only kidding.
they had those sheds were scattered in different areas, man, and I guess you just had to get lucky or know somebody
Yeah, because
to
the
get a hold of
Union
one.
Church was big and beautiful too. Nice
Yeah,
building with those gorgeous stairs in the front.
yeah, that's gonna be cool. Listen, we're gonna that we may not, no matter how everything plays out here, we can 99% certain that the canal zone that we grew up and left will never be back. There may be something else happens down the road, who knows, but that'll never be back. But you know, we are going to try and do something to go back there. And anyway,
Well,
I'll
that's
leave
what
that for
tonight's
another show.
analysis is about. Like, what's where does this really going?
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
Let's weed out some of the stuff.
and there's a long-term project that we're going to try and put together that'll allow us to go back to the canal zone, not the way we know it now, but that's for later days, the details on that. But yeah, look at Michael, good information there. Two corps all civilian and military. I lived in civilian corps all across from Chinese market. Yeah, that's right, that was the corps all area there in between, the where the veterinary clinic was. So on the other side of that veterinary clinic, that was considered Corozal. Yeah, good point there. Even the yacht club by the middle bar had a restaurant, but nothing that you're right. It does. And that was one place I think that I did go as a younger kid. There was sometimes, I think Saturday nights you could go and have dinner there. It was, Friday nights obviously it was, although I think even Friday nights they had it as a restaurant, because if you got
Yeah,
there
because
early to set up,
Thursday night was when that middle bar was real packed. Was this Thursday
yes,
night?
but upstairs was a restaurant. And they would
American
just clear
Legion.
it out for Friday nights afterwards. But if you got there
Well,
early, they would still have tables. They were still clearing it all out.
yeah, the American Legion was mostly like organized parties, like the Balboa
Yeah.
Rams had a party or St. Mary's had a party like that.
Yep. Yep. Balboa Alley and Clubhouse, Balboa Theater, yeah. Yeah, there was a really cool posting about Balboa Theater. We're starting to gather some traction on that to get some people to talk about that, because a lot of people worked in the Balboa Theater, and that's another cool iconic centerpiece of the Canal Zone was the
And their
Balboa Theater,
popcorn was different. I've never had popcorn like that
right?
popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that popcorn was different. I don't know what they did to it. Even the little bag, remember the little what's it? Not the little brown bags that they had, like those
Yeah.
lunch bags,
Yep. The little brown mats are now
nicely
used for beer.
packed. Yeah.
Jamaica Street. Okay. Right on. Right on. Oh, look at Captain Andrews on. Right on. Arr, arr, arr. Yeah, that's right.
Capitang.
El Capitán, el Pirata. Okay. What's Dodd saying here? We used to hang out at the park at the base of Sosa Hill. The Luke and Brewer always there, along with Mitchie and the gang. That's right. Hmm. Yeah, that was a good time. Good times. And you know what? Class of 86, we're starting to work out plans for next year. So if you're class of 86, start saving up now for flights to Panama. It looks like the 22nd of January is when that one will start next year. So Go ahead and mark that on your calendars. More to come on that. Obviously, me being part of Class of '86 will promote it plenty on this show. So should be a good time. The Bohíos of Boca, yes, that was a hangout there. That one, I don't know if that, I don't know, Ricky, was that a hangout for you guys when at your age group? You're muted. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. But anyway, he's muted right now, so I'm not sure what's going on there with his audio. I don't know, but unless it's just me, talk, Ricky, and then somebody in the audience, let us know if
Yes,
you can. Okay,
I
now I
hope
can
you
hear
can
you.
hear me.
Now we
Yes?
can.
Okay, okay.
Okay, yeah. No, did you guys hang out at the
I might have
Bohíos?
tapped the top here and hit it on mute.
Oh, you
Sorry.
muted it accidentally. No, tranquilo.
Yeah.
No, did your group, did your class and your 81 age group hang out there at the
I'll tell
Bohíos?
you. I'll tell you. In 10th, the only time I went there was when I was in 10th grade. I was in a band with Roddy Underhill, John Winkowski, and Javier Cedeño, and we were two drummers. And we played back there, but it was mostly Canal Zone college kids.
And it was
I
the
remember
actual
there was
Bohío in the
no Balboa
parking
High
lot?
School kids there, huh?
The Bohío where the parking lot was at the
Yeah,
college?
yeah, right behind the library. There's like a little,
Yeah.
yeah, there. But I remember
Okay.
I was like, no, there was no like high school kids or it was always it was like older guys that were back there. So it was like a who would probably party there the most? The Cristobal kids that stayed at the dorms. I think I
Mm,
was their
yes,
spot.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. But yeah, when like around 86, that time frame when we graduated and even for a couple years after that, that became a hangout. That place, the parking lot was full. It was just a bunch of people partying there either Friday or Saturday. I don't remember now which one it was, but all right. So Andrew was telling you, no, he's not a pirate AR. That's right. Yes, yeah. There's a really cool project that Andrew's working on, um, involving historical tours of the Bay of Panama. And one of the ideas is to incorporate AR, to use like with your phone and stuff, where you can hold it up and see, you know, what now looks like maybe ruins or something, and what it would look like, to somebody back in the 1500s or canal construction era. So really cool. I'm going to be helping him out with that. So really excited with the possibilities there, because there's a lot of history in the zone and in the waters there, as we've learned, that goes back 4 or 5 centuries, and up to somewhat little closer history of World War II, gun batteries, and all these different areas there. So that's a really cool project they have in the works there. Dave Dahlstrom's involved with that. Obviously, you guys know, with him being a Canal Zone historian, has just a wealth of information that they're going to put out there. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition, and who knows, hopefully, fingers crossed, that maybe in our class of '86 some of us can do that tour and check it out, and learn some Canal Zone history from the water, not from on land and everything. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do, and definitely that AR piece will be a component. Not sure when, because I have been looking into that, some of that stuff, and some of that AR stuff it's pretty expensive, but it's really cool to have. It would be really cool to see a pirate ship, or one of those, you know things going on, or maybe looking at those islands before the causeway was there, because those islands have been there a long time. But the causeway, you guys know what the causeway was set up for, right? What the whole purpose of the causeway was. It was a breakwater. The currents in the Bay of Panama were so strong that they were going to have way too much erosion at the entrance to the canal, so they built the causeway as a breakwater to stop those currents. That
Makes
was the whole
sense.
purpose of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it was, and
Because
obviously
you
it's
see all those mud flats there, right? That
correct.
built up. That all that would have just washed right into the
Yeah, that
channel.
whole bay there, in coming off the bridge where I lived in back there on Bamboo Street, which of course that whole neighborhood's gone now, but in low tide that was all mud. So as we know, the Pacific side, the tides were extreme. I think there was a 15 or 18-foot difference in tides. That's a lot of water moving, and moving water, as you know, erodes and washes out stuff. And so they knew that for this canal to work, that entrance had to do something about the tides. And they said, wait a minute, we got these islands out here and we got all this rocks and shit that we're pulling out of this damn canal we're building. Well, use those rocks and build a causeway. And that's what it turned out to be. We've obviously grown it since then, because it became a popular place to do things. But those islands were valuable islands. We just made them much more accessible. And actually, they had a rail line going out there at one point, believe it or not, out to the causeway.
Well, they
So,
had to bring all that rock out there, bro.
well, it
That's
was
all
going to
we
be,
got of
and that was, well, at that point, that was going to be the heavy water port was going to be out there, right? Dave told us about that also. That at one point, the idea was that between Sosa Hill and Ancon Hill was going to be a big, massive dam where we now have Balboa. There was not going to be a Balboa with the original plans. They were going to dam all that stuff up and do a sea level canal. And once they
And
realized
Willie,
that wasn't going to work, they changed the whole layout. And thank God,
and,
because we had a really cool
and
place
one
to.
of the Chinese ports that seems to come up on conversation is out there as well at that on the backside.
Yes, yes, and it's
Yeah,
coming up
yeah.
more and more in the conversations
Yeah,
lately.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
It's coming
is.
up a lot, actually. Yeah. Well, let's move into that segment.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Let's talk about all these things about Panama, the things that we certainly enjoy talking about with our favorite segment there, and Ricky's favorite too. And if I can get it queued up here, this thing's been acting a little strange today. I'm not sure why it won't let me pull stuff up here. Okay, there it is. Okay, let's watch.
El bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche,
That's right, El Bochinche. That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, I
it
love it.
is. It is a good tune. So, but this is Ricky's. This is where Ricky gives us a lot of good stuff that's going on in Panama. Some traditional stuff,
Yeah,
but
no, I
mostly
always
just
like
ins
to
and
give
outs.
you guys good bochincha, but the bochincha has been so good, and of course, political science is in my DNA. So, what today's bochincha is going to be is we're going to talk about our two favorite politicians in Panama: Meyer, Miss Rachi, our mayor of
Hmm.
Panama, and then the president Molino, right? And what they're doing. So quickly, let's get to it. Meyer, our favorite guy, he's remember Willie. He's a young techie. If he's
Sure is,
36, that's probably the most I'll give him. But he's probably not even that old.
and it's so
He
fitting that he drives a Tesla, the Tesla truck.
Cybertruck. He's a Cybertruck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he's
so
a big.
perfect.
He brought like the first Tesla to Panama.
Yeah,
He comes from a wealthy family,
yeah.
a Jamaican family though. He
Interesting.
is Jewish, but his mom is Jamaican.
See,
Yeah, and they were, industrialists there. They did sugar cane and things like that.
right
So
on.
that's where they came from. But the father is Panamanian. Well, he's still doing this big beautification of the city. When all you Zonians go back, you will notice that a major difference in the city of Panama. What this guy does, and this is the reason why I like talking about him. And Willie and I both follow him.
Yeah.
He will, instead of buying, for example, this is an example. Instead of buying a car for, let's say, the director of some
Right.
city office, he'll take that, say, 50 grand, right, for that car. He'll take that. He'll say, "Look, you guys have to get here on your own. Sorry, you're not going to get a car. I'll take that 50 grand and I'll go pay." He goes and he paints a building. But Willie,
Right.
I'm talking about like buildings right there at the limits, you can see them.
Hmm.
You would see you were like, "Oh, man, that poor
He is
building will
so
never."
into beautifying the city, man. It's not
Yes.
even funny.
So,
It's
and that's the stuff he does.
Well,
And
speaking of the cars for the officials, remember when he first got in office, he went in there. He goes, all these cars here for these people. What the hell are these people driving company cars for? Give me that shit back. Get
That's
it
right.
out of
That's what I'm
here.
talking about. So he took that
Yeah,
money
you don't
and he's
play,
just
man.
been beautifying the whole city. I mean, at
Yes,
the worst
sure has.
neighborhoods. He brings in bulldozers and backhoes and just cleans up the mess. But here's the deal about him, because it's just not give away, right? Taxpayers' money. He'll educate the neighborhood because he's a tech guy, so he can get all these things, pamphlets out
Hmm.
done. And then he verifies.
Right.
And if there are perpetrators that screw things up, he will go after them.
It's
So he's
accountability
a
now.
nice, sticking carrot.
Yeah, there's accountability.
Yeah, so that's why he's good, and that's why and let me tell you, this guy speaks directly to the youth. He doesn't talk to people our age.
Correct.
It's just straight to the youth. Look, he's gotten rid of in Panama. You know how you used to park your car there? Oh, let me watch your car. You had to give him a
Yeah,
dollar.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
two. Yeah.
yeah.
He got rid of all those
Well,
guys.
those guys started getting mean and nasty.
Mean and
I
nasty,
mean, if
correct.
it was, listen, it was a matter of obligation now. It wasn't even a courtesy anymore. Where you could
Yes,
back in the day, you could say no, whatever. Now you
and then
say
leave you
no, and
alone.
they mess your car up, and they like,
Correct.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Hey, he got
nasty.
rid of all that. He got rid of
Good,
all of
good
them.
for him.
And the buoneros, people that just pop up out of everywhere, and you're like, buying carne and palitos there, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
thinking, shit, should I eat that? Because of it's just things popping up
Standard,
everywhere.
man.
Right. Got rid of all that. For like if you go down Central now, it's just beautiful
I've seen some of
pathway.
those before and after pictures
Yeah.
where you had all those like booths and kiosks that they
Correct.
basically stood in the middle of the road.
Correct.
And he's
Got rid
like,
of
"Get
all out.
that out of here, man!" And now
Yeah.
you look at the place; it's
Mm.
still very bustling in commerce, but it looks like a clean shopping area
Yeah.
now.
So check out La Central for good shopping, guys, when
Yeah,
you're down there. He's making a big effort to pick up the trash and place bins all over the city. Now, this is the reason why. So he gets into politics and then he finds out as mayor, he has absolutely no power. Right, the streets are the responsibility of the central government. The electricity is a responsibility of a private firm. The telecommunications, if I'm saying so, he doesn't have, all he can do is beautify the city. That's why he's
right.
doing everything he can under his power. But now he's teaching future generations how to use your power if you don't have minimal power. And that's through
Correct.
project managing. So what he has the power to do is to organize the electrical company, the water
Sure.
company,
Make them efficient and
he
functional.
project he so this is what he does. But the way he does it, Willie's it. He's connected with a lot of techies his age. So he brings in a team of experts, like a good guy that knows how to build, an architect that knows about building codes, another guy that knows about
Hmm.
health issues, right? So he brings in these young experts, but they're not only young, I mean, good at what they know, but they're also good at social media.
Sure, they're
So
very dynamic.
correct. So that's what he brings, and he's letting all the younger generations know how things are done, how to keep things
Well,
clean.
have you seen one of his latest endeavors that I saw just the other day in these little projects you're doing about beautifying the city? And I hope I'm not stepping on toes here, but had to do with the phone booths.
Yes, he's getting rid of all the old phone booths.
Yeah, I mean, who
I mean,
uses
like
a
we're like one of the last
payphone?
cities in the world that has
Right. They still have all these
payphones where you can put
payphones
it.
all over the city, which think about it, back in the day of the payphones, you know, you had to have them every other, every block. It wasn't like, I mean, that was the way you communicated unless you were in an office or at home. You
Right,
had to
right,
have a
correct.
payphone. And so
And a
all these
long
payphones
cord.
are still there and they're an eyesore, number one, but
They're always
but
broken, number two.
but here's the flip side. You also already have a piece of infrastructure there.
Correct.
So
The
he's
cabling.
converting them into chargers for mobile devices and
Yes,
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi.
hotspots. So,
Correct.
again, just so smart because you already take the current infrastructure and you just tweak it, modify it, you clean it up, it looks better, and now it's functional. And you have them already all over the city. So why not make it something that somebody, a tourist is walking through Casco Viejo and all of a sudden their phone's almost dead and there's a charging stations all over. They're like, you know what they're telling everybody? Oh my God, Panama City, this place is great, man. There's chargers. It just, what a smart guy, man. He
What a smart
really
guy.
is just
Yeah,
really
yeah.
doing right by
He's
Panama
doing
City,
right
man.
by Panama, man. He's a
For
young kid, and
sure.
his latest was, how Panama always has carnivals, right? But
Hmm.
but but the city pays for that. So now he's like, hey guys, we're broke, man.
Right, man.
You want
Not on my
carnivals?
dime.
Get the private sector in here, man. We'll help them out all day long, man. Rah rah rah.
Well, he
So
had a
I
really
love the kid.
successful, I'll talk about the private sector, an extremely successful Christmas parade. And he's
Privately funded.
and in no time flat. That wasn't something that was set up months and months before. It was literally with just a few weeks before the holidays. He's like, "Hey, man, y'all got to step up and let's do this." And
And he
man,
did it.
from everything that I saw on videos and stuff people put on social media, it was a hit, man. It
It
was,
was only the first year, so it's going to get better. So
yeah,
he did the
man.
same thing. He goes, hey, guys out there, you got 45 days to organize this. We'll help you out. We'll be your cheerleader. Of course, we'll
Yeah,
provide police service. Da, 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 like
sure,
we
of
talked
course,
about.
of course.
But so yeah, so that. But listen,
Very interesting.
Willie, this guy's inspiring so many young kids
Yeah.
in Panama, young politician. I just recently saw one in Cologne. This Greek kid. there's an old Greek church in Cologne that has been abandoned, and it looks like it's just a disaster, right? You can only imagine. Remember that city, New Jack City? I mean,
Yeah.
that movie, New Jack City,
Yeah.
like that, like
Yeah.
that. And
Absolutely.
this kid, on without government help, nothing, just social media, a Greek kid from Panama, I would say, again in his mid 30s, he just started saying, "Hey, man, let's clean this up. I got a little bit of money. Let me put some money
Yeah.
down, start cleaning this up." And now they're getting funding from even Greece itself, and this kid is just transforming this beautiful building in Cologne into what that church used to look like for the Greek Orthodox.
Nice.
So
Well
he's
done.
inspiring so many kids to do this. And some of the young, I like to point out their names so that everybody knows. Some of the young names are like Jonathan Vega. This kid is just grilling everybody in the National Assembly on, why you do things like this. For example, he's like, we have in the University of Panama, we had this career for foreign service, to be diplomats. We have 52 consulates and embassy, and he's like, how many are from that school? And the lady that's in charge, she's like, two.
Ridiculous.
Everybody else is not qualified, So this is where, this is the new Panamanian politics, man. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
right on with these guys. And there's Eddie
It's now
Sombrocha.
doing, it's almost Kennedy like back in the day, back in the day,
Correct.
Panama for since 1903. Let's not kid ourselves. Since 1903, Panama has lived like most of Latin America. What can you do for me? Not what can your country do for you, as opposed to what you can do for your country. And that's what he's saying is, hey, listen, give back, man. And if everybody gives a little bit, it's not a big sacrifice. It's
Yes.
amazing what you can get out of this. And now it's starting to carry over into Cologne, because that really it's really sad that it's still the second largest city. It's still Panama's second city, but it's really just fallen behind. It just almost abandoned, and
Every
outside of the
government
free
tries.
zone,
Yeah.
outside of that area, I mean, if you look up on YouTube travel videos, if there's anything about Cologne, it's about the places to avoid, right? It's always, about the dangers of Cologne. It's not looked at as a place of anything good or positive. And so, man,
But there
if these
is a
guys can start
glimmer of
stepping up,
hope.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
start
Well,
doing
that's
that.
good. That's good, man.
Yeah, right on. Good
Yeah,
call.
so right on. All right. Well, that's what we have with our mayor. Now let's move on to our Molino analysis. Reason why I'm going to talk about this is because you guys, there's just so much been happening in the last 4 weeks. Willie and I have gone through easily 20 videos of different things out
Oh,
there.
without a
I
doubt.
mean, Willie, remember, for example,
And we went to school.
there was there was a story out there that there's cracks in the locks, and this is why Trump said
Hmm.
he had they were asking for 3 billion because they found a civilization buried underneath the canal. We can scratch that one off. We can
Yeah.
definitely scratch that one out. That's definitely not happy. The military being used to take over Panama, we can scratch that one off too. That's not that's nothing. But listen, guys. So what both sides, including the two administration, the Biden and the Trump administration, and Panama, everybody has lined up. Everybody has looked through the rhetoric, of
Hmm.
the military invasion, taking over the operations of the canal, the canal zone going back to all the American, all that, not, all that's rhetoric. None of that's going to happen. So what I see happening, guys, is everybody's falling behind this thing. Abide by the neutrality treaties. So if you're abiding by those treaties, both United States and Panama, no problem. Okay. So, but this is where the deal comes in, right? So everybody, the Panamanian government as well as the U.S. government, the outgoing and the incoming, go, hey, if you abide by the treaties, there's no problem,
Right.
right? The treaties do allow for everybody to talk if there is an issue. So the United States has been saying there is an issue.
And,
Okay.
and
So
real quick, what Ricky's saying there, guys, when it says the treaty allows them to talk, it's not like these people are not allowed to talk at any other time. But what the treaty allows is that you can. There's formal processes when you're challenging certain things in a treaty. You have to. It's almost like being summoned to court. You have to actually be presented that and formally handed that in order to actually be recognized by the court as if you've been requested to appear. Well, in similar
Correct.
fashion here with the treaty, there's certain stipulations that you can challenge the treaty and talk about it and bring it to a discussion or a debate or a negotiation.
Or arbitration or something like that.
Correct.
Correct.
And
Yes.
so without that, at the end of the day, Panama could do what they want with it, and the U.S. could say what they want, and so they put this in as a process. So, a lot of the rhetoric you hear here, it's not so unilateral. I mean, there is things that if Trump doesn't like the way Panama's running things, and he's got a valid point, there's a mechanism in place then to address it. And certainly a speech at a political rally is not it's not the end all decision, and that just
Correct.
unfortunately all it did was uncover this thing. But like Ricky said, we've seen a ton of videos, and Ricky and I have, I mean, we've, you know, outside of the show, we spent a lot of time online together going over some of these things and discussing them and talking to people that are, in different areas. And certainly Ricky's family, comes from a position of knowledge of these things. So, you know, he's
Yeah, we do
absolutely
have
right.
good inside sources.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
definitely do. So what the Panamanian government has done, this is what they've done right off the bat. So this is why it's an indication of what this show has been telling you guys. It has nothing to do with the price, has nothing to do with the military, it has everything to do with the Chinese ports.
Hmm.
However you like it, that's what it has to do with.
Correct.
Period. Okay. So now, what have I seen? Will and I seen? What are the counter moves? So these are the counter moves. Right off the bat, the Molino put all the Chinese, high officials in Panama on notice. Okay. And what I mean by that, guy, is listen, one of the ways you abide by the treaties is you don't do business with foreign governments, right? That's not allowed in our
To the
treaties, right?
extent that they're doing is what he's talking
Correct.
about. You
You
can certainly do
and
business with them, but
Correct. I mean, if you're just a straight up business, yeah, no problem. And you also have to be a signatory to the neutrality treaties. China is not. They're not
correct.
signatory to the treaty, so they don't have to abide by it. Okay. So
Which
Molino
gives them an
basically,
out for breaking rules is where the
yes,
United States has a problem. Because legally China
correct.
could say, "Hey, I didn't sign that. I don't have to abide by that."
Correct, Willie. So one of the things that China can't do because their businesses are attached to the government. At the end of the day, every business in China has to answer in national security to the communist government. So they can't abide by the treaties. They can't sign it. Okay. So Molino has told them either you abide by the treaties or null and void. So that's one step that I've seen as a very positive step. And that's been confirmed that meeting happened. Okay. Second, right off the bat, they lost the contract. The Chinese lost the contract to build the train from Panama to Cherokee. Huge contract. And they had it originally, but everybody in Panama, even though, this guy hasn't been prosecuted, knows that the president, to break ties with Taiwan, the way he got paid was to get money to do the studies of building that train, right? And some people say it was 160 million that he got paid. Some people
Yeah.
say 140. So everybody in Panama knows that. So Molino went and said, "Look, there was corruption in that contract. You're out."
Yeah.
The bidder that won it was an American company.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that was the U.S. pushing. No,
And you know
that
what,
was
Ricky, that brings up a great point. When you mention that corruption there, you know, one of the things that we brought up early on when this all started to really come to the surface was this whole Chinese debt trap diplomacy, and how
correct, which you have been right on point on.
and here's what a lot of people need to understand is a lot of these countries that have already fallen into that debt trap issue, you start asking, well, why did they sign those deals to begin with? Well, it's the corruption, right? If they really were looking at it with the best interest of their country, the people that actually negotiate and sign these things, instead of looking at filling their pockets with money, then they would negotiate something that wouldn't put their country in danger. The president of Sri Lanka, who did this, filled his pockets with money. He got captured on a little fishing boat fleeing the country, okay, because when they all found out, and by then it was too late because the country officially signed these agreements with
And
China
defaulted.
and defaulted. And of course they were going to default. And everyone's wondering, well, why the hell did he sign this thing? Well, you look over at the president, all of a sudden he's running out with a bag full of money. Well,
Yep.
that's what's we're people are insinuating has happened here in Panama, and they've signed some bad deals. And again, guys, the numbers don't lie. 40% of Panama's debt is owed to one country, China. And
Correct.
it's a country that has a track record of using debt to take control of countries or facilities. So
So
it's just
that is, yes, that's what this show's trying
100%,
to tell
man.
you guys is that's where this is going. This is why. Now, the last thing that I've seen happen is they're right now checking the legality of the ports new extension.
Right.
They got an extension, 25-year extension of the contract. Now, this was decided closed doors, no transparency, and it was decided by the board of directors of like the shipping industry in Panama.
Hmm.
So it was even done, but so these are the moves that I've seen. So if I see
Correct.
these moves, to me it tells me, look, there's some problems with
This is my
the
dog.
ports. There's some problems with the way that was taken over, and this is where the fix is going to be coming. That's our opinion, guys. But based on all the work we've been doing, we feel pretty strong about that's where we see this new negotiation coming up. So and then remember when Hutchinson Whampoa did originally sign the contract to operate the treaties, they were a private company from Hong Kong, but not today, and not when they signed that extension. They were not.
Yeah,
Okay,
well, and there's some documents that have recently been, well, I don't
Juan
know how
Sosa.
recently they were uncovered, but some stuff there. No, not that Juan Sosa. There's another one that I saw the other day, and this was an intelligence report that came out in
Oh
the
yes,
late
yes.
70s, and China at that point is already acknowledging they're waiting for the United States to get out of the way so that they can come and get their tentacles in on Panama. And so, one of the things that they did, this Hutchinson Whampoa company that everyone's talking about, was a
Hong
a
Kong.
Hong Kong company. They're completely independent. Not even close. Hutchinson
Today,
Whampoa
maybe
is
then, maybe
correct.
in the maybe in
Well,
the
but
mid
then that
'90s,
was already in the works when that was
but not
happening.
today.
Even then
Yeah,
it
not
was.
today, not
But they
today.
are very much another mechanism of the CCP. And don't
Yes.
kid
So
yourself to think that they're not, guys, because they
right.
sure are.
So here now we're going to go into facts on the ground. How do I know these facts? Because Willie and I, we have, you know, from my uncle, from Juan Sosa, prominent member of Panamanian Society and the Canal, from inside sources that, of course, we're not going to mention names, and of course, all my political science buddies, which I seem to have a whole bunch of them. And thank you very much to all you guys out there that sent me articles. One thing we can rule out for the fact: Chinese are not involved in any operational level in the canal zone, in the canal. Operational level, there's no Chinese. Okay, if there is, it's because of merit. He deserved that. He won the job because of his merits. But we can almost write that off. There is at the operational level, not at the top. I'm not talking about the top decision makers or ports or anything like that. Canal operation, dredging, the
And
lock,
remember, guys, when
the
when
pilots, etc.
when we're talking about Chinese operating the canal or operating these ports and things of that nature, the fear of the United States isn't that they'd be operating the canal and say, close the locks, you can't use them. No, that's not the
Correct.
case. The concern
Oh,
is
wait. We don't know. That's what I'm saying. At that top
correct, but
management
it's
level,
in other
we
words,
don't
it's
know.
not
We
likely
don't
that
know.
they would do something like
I like
that.
to think that there is interference at that top level.
To me, I think the bigger concern is the opportunity to sabotage. And that's
Correct.
where the United States suddenly, if an operation to move assets is delayed by several weeks, that could mean the difference between, winning a battle or saving
Especially
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Correct.
So,
So
and that's where
here,
my big concern is that
correct,
that
correct.
opportunity to be so close to the canal that it wouldn't take much to sabotage.
That's correct. But here's another inside, very important inside that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. it is extremely difficult. Okay, now we're talking about the two Chinese ports on the Pacific and Atlantic side. Extremely difficult to convert those ports into military use, and for several reasons. But for one big reason, which makes a lot of sense to me, is they don't have a gas station.
Correct.
A
Correct.
bunker. I think they're called bunkers. They don't have that. So what? If
There's
you're
only
coming from
one port
China
in
and
the
you're landing
canal zone.
for a port and you can't get gas,
Yeah.
you
There's only
know,
one port in the whole Panama Canal that has fueling capabilities, and they don't have their hands on that
and
one.
that's controlled by the Panamanian government.
Correct. That's in Rodman,
Right,
the former
correct.
Rodman.
And I don't even want to tell you what family probably runs that, but um,
Yeah, I'm sure.
uh, so that's another thing you guys can write off. It's extremely difficult to convert these ports. So maybe it'll be a sabotage thing, like happened at the Suez Canal,
Sure.
or something like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
Listen,
but it won't.
when that ship got stuck in the Suez Canal, prices of oil shot up around the world. Prices of a lot of goods shot up, and this is one ship, and it wasn't sunk. It was just maneuvered in such a way that it took quite a while to get it out of the way. You sink a ship in that canal and those in that channel, a whole different story. That's going to take
Well,
a
yeah,
salvage
yeah.
operation that won't be done overnight.
And we're going to talk about projects like that on the 1974. And guys, the third and final thing, facts on the ground that we can write off. You already know, no Chinese operational level. Can't convert those ports into military use of any good use. I'm sure they can have, weapons stashed inside containers, but if you can't get gas, it's not, unless it's just doesn't sound like a good strategic port if you can't get gas. All right.
Yeah.
And the last thing, a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but this is true. The Chinese do indeed pay less in tolls than anybody else. And that's because of loopholes in their pricing systems. Now, who decides that pricing system? Top management. So that's where I'm thinking, that's where I'm saying, go look in there. Something's happening there.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion on why the US keeps saying, nope, Chinese are influenced. Chinese are in. Because in my, I've seen that over and over and over, and knowing it's not at any operational level, knowing it's not truly the ports, it has to be.
And if you don't think that they have influence, you don't have to have somebody working in there directly named the chief in order to have influence. All right. Right now, there's a big concern in Panama that Panama's credit rating is about to be lowered. Okay. And one
Correct.
of the reasons for that is because they're carrying such a high debt load. Okay. And they start making these huge infrastructure projects, and coincidentally China's there offering terms for the loan, offering the equipment, offering the builders. Okay, so they're giving Panama the money, they're getting it back twice because they're being paid for it through their companies and their supplies, and then the money that Panama is paying for it is China's money anyway, so they're getting that paid back. But at the end of the day, they're saddling this country with debt that now is impacting their ability to borrow anywhere else in the world. And so, in
Correct.
order, as a politician, if you want to avoid that, you have to then suddenly start playing fair with China. And so suddenly, guess what? China maybe gets better terms for their ships going through the canal in exchange for maybe stretching that debt out another 10 years, which will then lower that concern for that credit rating increase or decrease. So there's a lot tied into this debt that you really got to pay attention. And China, listen, China knows exactly what they're doing. This
That's
is
their
not new
game.
to them. This
Yeah,
is that
and Willie,
bell.
you're doing awesome on that research. I'm doing more of the Mulino. Willie's doing more the that financial angle.
I have followed that whole China, that
I
belt,
mean,
and
we called it before it's all made the news. Now it's all over the news. The
it
debt's all over the
was,
news.
not to toot our horn, but there was no mention of China's debt trap, and then we on the
Not
air
that it
here
come
on
from our
Friday
show, but our
night.
show was first to announce it.
It just all of a sudden it was. I mean, literally the next day there was several news outlets in Panama that were talking about the Chinese debt issue, and it's suddenly, to me,
I can
the most
complicate the
surprising
canal.
thing about this entire issue since day one that Trump made that statement. I automatically assumed that Panama was just going to be up in arms against Trump and what he said. And of course, you did have some of the folks that did say that and whatnot. But the amount of people that have either sat back quietly or even said, "I don't have a problem with it,"
Hmm.
is to me quite
That was the
surprising.
alarming part.
Yeah,
That is what
very eye opening.
alarmed the politicians. That's why
Hmm.
Molino got the
You
Chinese in
better
there
believe it.
quick, and let's start checking contracts. Please,
Yeah,
Pat.
he took a temperature check and he realized, wait, that wind's not blowing the direction I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
He
And
realized that very
Cologne,
quick.
Cologne of all places that we were
Yeah.
just dissing, they were the first one to say, "Hey, U.S., come on, get them. Hey,
Heck,
we'll save a spot for you
listen,
over here."
like we said, Cologne has, if some people here in the United States look at a city like Detroit a lot of times and use that as an example, that place back in the day was a flourishing city, and now Detroit as a city is just destitute, just completely broken down. And that's what's happened to Cologne. You know, Panama, after the United States left, just blossomed, prosperity everywhere. I mean, who would have ever in our lifetime down living in the zone would have thought that Panama was going to build a subway, a metro, and things of that nature? And they have, but Cologne is just like they kind of shut the door on it, man, and that place just fell by the wayside, man. And
But it's coming back. I mean,
it
I have
is, it is.
seen,
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
little by little, they're
It
doing
is.
it like they did also
I'll
in
tell you what,
California.
Cologne would have been a dead city if it wasn't for the free zone.
Yeah, and I think some ports. I think they had a port out there that, and well, no, their maritime is pretty big. That's a lot of ports out there, Willie.
Yeah, but it's
So
so
that
related
employs
to
a
the
ton
free
of
zone,
people.
man. That's what, and we never did get to that free zone segment. We will get to it here at some point. Which, by the way, I'm going to
We
make
got
a
plenty of time.
we do,
Yeah.
and this is going to be a perfect segue to do that, just for a cheap plug here, and then we'll continue with your conversation. But we
No, we're
talked.
done. We're done. We're done. We're done.
Oh,
We're done.
good.
We don't
Okay.
want to
Well,
say
then
anymore.
we'll end it with a nice little segue here. Um,
Into
Vern
birthday.
Couturier, he lived in the Atlantic side, and he's mentioned, we've talked before about not having a big Atlantic side presence here, and and he contributes a lot. In fact, he sent me some information the other day about the Sturgis. Remember that nuclear ship that was docked in Gatun for several years, in fact, and talked about someone that he knew that was on that ship, and so he had a lot of cool information, and we started chit chatting about the lack of Atlantic side coverage, and Ricky and I didn't live there, so I mean I lived there for 6 months when I was a baby, so I don't have no recollection or memory of the Atlantic side other than going there to play football or baseball. So Vern is going to be joining us, and he's going to be one of our Atlantic side voices, so I'm excited to
Oh, right
to
on.
do that.
Yeah,
So he was
cool.
just sharing here about his time in the Atlantic. This He posted
So
this
skating ring like
earlier on
us,
when we were talking about
pool,
hangouts.
clubhouse like us,
Yeah,
bowling alley like us, theater like, yeah. It's like we're all the same DNA because everything there we did.
we
Knights
are.
of Columbus was where
Different
we
side
did
it
pinball.
was. There was.
We
There's
had
a
the
lot going on
greatest
there, and
pinball
there was
machines
a
there.
time when the Atlantic side was big time. There was a lot of people we know grew up down there and then ended up coming to the Pacific side. But
Well, we
nonetheless,
know in the '60s they whooped Balboa's butt
yeah, boy did
pretty
they ever.
bad in football.
Boy did they ever, man. No kidding, man. They had some ball teams. The Palumbo coach Palumbo was a legend over there, and I always remember as a kid, one of my football memories on Rams, and this was, I think, my first year in Rams, or maybe even the year before I played. But the heavyweight, no, I think I was playing lightweights. It was my first year in lightweights. But the heavyweight team, that was the year that Cristobal Tigers were just the
Oh,
dominant
thank you
team.
very much. That was my year. They beat us.
I mean, and destroyed teams. They were so good.
So
And I
good,
remember
yeah.
Lewis Payne was running back, and he ran a play up the middle, and next thing you know, he's on the bench, and they're unscrewing the face mask to take the helmet off because the guy hit him so hard he smashed the cage into his face, and he couldn't take the helmet off. And I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
know. They were good. They were good for 2
oof,
years, I remember. It
yeah,
was my heavyweight
unbelievable
year.
team.
In
Yes,
the following year, whoa, they were really, really, really good.
yeah,
But we
and I
got them
remember.
back in high school football, though.
Yes, that was the one thing it never translated over to high school for whatever reason. Um, you
Well,
know,
the
it,
earlier years, yes. I mean, like
maybe.
the year before mine, they were good. They were good. They weren't always bad when you guys played.
Yeah, we played them. They were, but it was still a big, it was a big school,
Yeah, because
and
back when I was around, there were still a lot of kids.
yeah,
When you were around, there was a lot less kids. Yeah,
big time. Yeah, I think they
yeah,
drew down the Atlantic side a lot quicker than the Pacific side. I think
yeah.
it was
Oh,
easier
yeah,
to
yeah. Because a
move
lot
that
of them
out, and
came
then
over.
yes,
Yeah.
they did, and maybe that kind of played a role in that because you're right. And I remember at the Balboa Rams reunion last year in Orlando, Coach Downing was there, and God, what a
Hmm.
great time talking to him and
And
just
he's a legend.
amazing.
He was the
Oh,
coach of those winning teams.
yes, he sure was. He sure was, man. And God bless him. He's 94 years old and I mean sharp as a tack, man. Talking
Sharp.
to him,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, it
Yeah.
was
He's
like Kopsky.
94. He looked great, and he was
Did,
definitely
man.
sharp.
And it was funny because again, just like Kopsky, he's mentioning players by name and number, and he remembers these guys from 40, 50 years ago. They're playing on their squads, which is incredible, man. But that's the dedication they had to the game. It was part of the
Kopsky, he's a
community.
good guy, man.
Yeah,
He's a good guy. He sent me a
yeah,
Christmas card.
yeah,
Thank you,
without a
Mr.
doubt.
Kopsky. That was
So
awesome, man.
CHS closed in '95. Vern, thank you. Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some more Atlantic side stuff because I know Atlantic side has been shortchanged, and I mean, granted they were the redheaded stepchild,
No,
but
you,
still,
not me. I'm always inviting them in.
I know I like to rip on the Atlantic side, but it's all in good fun. It's all love. It's like a little brother you want to beat up sometimes, But anyway, that's so. Listen, good bochincha, a lot of good information on there. We are running long on the show, but we're not going to skip on it again because we've skipped on it once before already on the spillway, and of course we have our birthday, so we're going to jump right into that. And Ricky's got a list of birthdays. Fortunately, the birthdays weren't this long on this one, but there's still some good
What?
birthdays.
Your this is
You know,
long.
but they're not like those September ones. We know that February with love is in the air, and so September's going to be always a long month.
Right.
But these
Yeah.
were, a little bit
Well,
different there.
yeah. Well, let's start with the class of '81 because we know we always do,
Yes,
guys.
we do.
And we're gonna start with I don't know if all you guys remember, but Stephen Crane.
Yeah.
He
And
lived in
real
La
quick, while you're
Boca.
doing that, Ricky, sorry to interrupt, but anybody, if you want to throw some birthdays in the chat, because again, the only thing we have access to is whatever I can find on my Facebook feed that I see as a birthday or somebody's wishing somebody. So, if you're out watching the show and we don't mention your birthday, we don't mean to, but if you want, throw it in the chat there. We'll certainly celebrate those as well.
Stephen Crane. All you guys that grew up in Balboa remember him. He was La Boca kid, and he was one of those guys that when we would play Smear the Queer at Balboa Pool Wednesday nights, he would not let go of the ball.
You hold him down forever. You think he's dead.
And we would hold him down so my that guy would be come out blue, bro. But that guy would
That's
not let
hilarious.
go of the ball, man. Stephen Crane, happy birthday to you, sir. Tracy Duvall, very, very, very beautiful French girl I graduated with. Jose Eposito, his dad was a Canal Zone police. My very, very good friend Charlie Robinson, thank you.
Robeson, yeah.
Charlie for being a great friend since very, very, very young. Larry Shepard, another great friend. By the way, Larry, if you're watching this show, thank you always for those plates you sent me. He sent me these Canal Zone plates that I use every day till today.
Nice.
Yeah, with the Canal Zone thing on it.
Oh, very
Love
cool.
it, man. Larry, thank you for that. He just out of his great heart thought I should have them, and bro, I use them every
and you
day.
put them to good use.
Oh, I use them every day, and I
Yeah,
take
right
care of
on.
those like oh my god. Blake Sperlin,
Nice.
happy birthday to you. He's a great artist. And Danny Villasenor. He lived in El Prado with us. He
Okay.
lived right behind the Babo Gym. That first
Oh,
house
nice.
in right where the street would split
Where the
up.
cross street was.
Yeah. He lived in
Okay.
that house right in the corner. So he had the best house for lunch after school because, he was just lived right there. Well, happy birthday to you, Danny. And so moving on. And I think Danny now is retired and lives in the Philippines.
Okay, cool.
Alan Dico, happy birthday.
Yes.
Big personality in the Canal Zone and in the Canal Zone reunion. He's a board
Yes.
member.
He's a board
Yeah,
member, founding
Monica
father of that reunion.
Meana, we'd like to wish her once again happy birthday. I know we did last week. My very good friend Charlie Thrush, happy birthday to
Nice.
you. My good friend, even though I always pound him on politics, Luis Jimenez, happy birthday to you, Luis. Yes, Didi Parilla, happy
Maria,
birthday.
yep. Class of
Maria,
86.
86.
Didi has an
Wayne,
interesting story. Didi lived in Panama several times from Army times, but her dad got stationed there several times and then left and then came back, which is really
yeah,
cool.
I knew a few
Cool
people
story.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Miguel Rivera, one of those. Wayne Forrest, speaking of those Cristobal High School
Mhm.
champions, he was on that football team. Happy
Yes.
birthday, Wayne. And he's also a very good paddler as well.
He's a
John
cop
Big
now, I
John,
think.
pardon?
I think he became a cop.
Wayne Forrest.
Oh no, not Wayne Forrest. No, no, my bad. No, I was thinking of someone else. But no, yes,
He lives in Tampa.
he does.
He
He
lives,
actually
yeah,
lives right
yeah,
down the road from me here. I
yeah, yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what I was
yeah,
thinking.
yeah. I
Brain
like
fart
him. I
here.
like him. He's a
I
good
ran
guy.
into him
Good
at a
guy.
grocery store here. I mean, literally lives a few miles away from me here.
Yeah, yeah. Very competitive. My whole life I competed against him. Big John Morris, Kelly Morris's cousin, very good football player, good
Yeah,
Zonian. Everybody knows him as well. A tough guy. Sherry Bodie, happy birthday. Christine Metzger, hope I said
Metzger.
that right.
Yes, class of
Metzger.
'84.
Tom Gallagher, happy birthday, Tom. Neoline,
Nolene.
Nolene Mary Morrissey. I know the Morrissey last name. Happy
Yes,
birthday, Noeline.
Nolene. Yeah, she lived in. They lived in
Noeline.
Los Rios.
Yes. Mr. Bobby Klingon. That's father, dad,
Papa.
Bobby
Yes.
Klingon. Right on, Mr. Klingon, man. Good
Hey,
to see
listen, I
you.
saw a picture of him the other day on Facebook. Man, I've never seen him with a beard, and he's got like the full out. That,
The whole Santa Claus
oh
look.
my God, yeah, big old
Right
beard
on,
on
Mr.
him. Yeah, right
Klingon.
on.
Great, great, great man. I mean, I grew up with all his sons, so
Yes,
I've known him my whole life. And him and Mr. Curtis were like buds, man.
yes,
So,
for
yes, Mr.
sure.
Klingon, happy birthday and salute to you, sir. Truly, good man.
Yeah, salute, absolutely, salute, Mr. Klingon.
Yes. And Steven Sauter. Happy birthday, Steven. Belinda Millard. I think her
Okay,
brother was happy birthday just like a week ago.
yeah,
Teddy Joyce. We
okay,
actually celebrated him 1 week early, but Teddy, you get 2 weeks. Uh, Becky Crowley,
yeah, okay,
Devin Kane. Now,
yes,
I remember this Kane family. Devin was what, the 86, right? So he was
yes. It
your
was
age
my
group.
classmate. Yeah,
Yeah, he was a St. Mary's kids, but there was one
correct.
my age group. I don't remember his name, but he was a cool,
Well,
tough,
Mrs.
tough kid.
Kane, when the nuns left St. Mary's, Mrs. Kane became the principal.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, he
Yes.
was like a redhead. Because he was in my he was with me in St. Mary's. And last but not least, Willie, you want to take it over?
Yes, yes. And last one, of course, and a couple here, Anita Orvis and Lita Hall. Thank you, Jill, for posting those. Anyone else that we missed? Again, we don't,
Oh, both of
not
them
our
great
intent.
girls. Great, great
Absolutely,
82 girls. Yes.
absolutely. But January 17th is a very, very special day for myself because although it's the fourth one now in heaven, but mom, happy birthday to you. Miss you, love you so much, but enjoy your birthday up there with a lot of other great Zonians. So that's our birthdays, and of course we salute our birthdays with a special happy birthday tune sung through a Panama Murga. So here you go. Happy birthday. Yes, happy birthday indeed, everybody. We absolutely love celebrating birthdays. That's a lot of fun, and
Oh,
just keep
yeah.
sending them in whenever you get a chance to. Sean Kane, that was his name. Thank you, Jill.
Sean, that's the
That's
one my
right.
age group. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes,
Yes.
right on. Good call there, Jill. Right on. Yeah, Sean Kane.
Yeah, because he
Sean
was
Kane was in
82. He
your
was
in your
82.
class, and then they had a sister Nona Kane. Uh, she was in class of '84. She was in my brother's class, and then Devin was in my class. So very cool. Right on.
Yeah,
Good
great
memory there.
family.
Thank
Great
you.
Zolian family. Yes, for
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. So now moving right along here, a little bit behind schedule, but nonetheless we still want to do this because we've had a lot of fun with this before, and we've promoted it up a couple of times. So we definitely got to deliver on what we promise here. So our spillway issues are a lot of fun. People really love to reminisce and go back on those, and since we have the class of 75 is going to be joining us next month, and for hopefully a couple of episodes as we work our way towards their graduation. We're going to start off by looking at the class of 74 or the 1974 spillway issues in our Back to the Spillway segment here. So here you go, guys.
Great Scott!
So let's go back then to 1974 in the spillway. And guys, the spillway, along with a lot of other really, really cool Canal Zone memorabilia, is available here at the Panama Canal Museum collection. These guys do a fantastic job. They took over for the Canal Zone Museum, which used to be, or the Pan Canal, I forget what it was called, used to be here in Seminole, Florida, and it was just something that when they started here, absolutely wonderful museum, but it was something that was ready to go to that next level, and it was something that the museum people here, you know, was out of their realm, I guess. And so the University of Florida has a lot of these museum collections. They do a really, really great job with these. And it's at the George A. Smathers Library up in Gainesville. So they have a physical museum there as well that you can visit. It has a lot of Canal Zone artifacts, a lot of things that are donated. You get a lot of these at the auctions at the reunion. It's kind of funny. We joked around with the museum folks when they were on the show about 6 months ago that people buy stuff in the auction, and then after a couple of years they donate it to the museum and then the museum turns around and fundraises. They put them out in the auction, people buy them again, and they turn around and donate them back again. So they kind of are running it through a cycle there, but hey, it's keeping the museum funded, and one of the ways you guys can help out with funding for the museum is to become a member. $26 a year, guys, gets you a membership to the Panama Canal Museum collection. They do a wonderful job there. You can certainly find them online. The website address here is pcmc.u uflib.uful.edu, if that makes sense. But anyhow, that's their website. They've got an amazing, amazing collection. A lot of different publications on there. What I normally do on there, and I'll show you guys how to get to the spillway. I have it bookmarked there, but you go to the different collections. When you get to the spillway section, let me go ahead and pull that up here so you can see that here. There's this orange button here. And actually, I guess I should do that to help you guys out. That's probably the better way of doing this. Let me go back to this tab here. So anyhow, when you're on here at the museum, there's that digital collection down here. Click on there, and you're going to get a lot of different resources here. This is where you start seeing that there's a lot of really cool things going on here. And so we're going to go ahead and look at let me make sure I'm in the right area here, but the books of photographs, mixed material, newspapers. So I'm going to click on books here to see what comes up here because there's publications should be here. And you can also get yearbooks and things of that nature. But anyhow, in these newspapers here, not only do you have the Spillway, but there's a lot of older newspapers as well. I just am familiar with the Spillway. That's the one that I grew up watching and reading. And so when you find all those, when you get to the Spillway, this is what you're going to come across here is this page right here. And what you want to do, guys, is hit this little orange tab here. And I actually have this page bookmarked because anytime I want to go see a spillway, I'll go in here and click on here, and then I can start my search from there. And the reason you want to do that is, remember, the spillway came out every week, right? And so there's 52 issues every year, and the spillway started in the early or mid 60s and went on until 1999. So there's a lot of issues out there. And so what you do is you click on here, and you're able to scroll all the way for, look, October 30th of 57 was the first episode or the first issue. And when you click on them, it'll bring you that newspaper here. You actually just go and click on it here, and it takes you to that newspaper. So here's the 1957 October 30th issue of the Spillway. Now here's the really cool thing. Well, I was telling you that these guys digitized it and they made it really high quality. Um, there's a zoomable feature here. When you click on there, you're able to scroll around, drag it around the screen, but you're really able to zoom in. And as you can see, the resolution is really good, but it's limited to whatever the resolution was when they printed it, right? And this is what you saw in the Spillway back then when you had it in your hand, just the same way you have here. And then, of course, you go through the different pages. They were about 8 pages long, typical Spillway. And remember, the first half was English and the second half was the same edition, but in Spanish, right? So that's how we look around at all the different issues that we're looking at here. So check them out. And in the future, I think what we're going to do is whatever week we're going to do this spillway, we're going to let you know which one we're going to be looking at. So go in there and take a look at it. And if you read an article that's something you're familiar with, maybe you were involved with or your family member or something, maybe you can chime in and help share some of your stories and memories of the spillway. Because that's one of the things I find really cool about this newspaper is a lot of times you see names on there and you're like, oh, that used to be my next door neighbor, or wow, that's so and so, that's this person, that's that person, or it's a family member. So it was our community newspaper, and it's fun to go back in time with that. So, but enough of the spillway and how to find it and what to do there. But let's go ahead and go back to 1974 now. Let's go to July 5th. Okay, it's summertime. All right, we just celebrated the 4th of July holidays in the zone, and it's 1974. If you guys are BHS class of 75, this is the newspaper. This is what was going on in the zone there right before you started that senior year, your final year in school there. So, and again, you can zoom in here, go to full screen, and this is some of the articles that were on here. By the way, see, a gift of the Panama Canal Museum. It really is, guys. They have this really is a gift to be able to go back in time with these. At least for me, it is. I love history, right? But one of the articles that came out in 74, and this will take some of us back to memory lane. We shared it a bit on Facebook a few weeks ago, was this contract for 48 apartments and houses, and kind of interchangeable names there. But these were built in the mid 70s. So that was a time that most of us were around and aware of what was going on in the zone, and we might remember where this was. So to fill you in, and again, we can zoom in and some of the details here, which are neither here nor there. But what everybody wants to know is, where were these houses at? Where were these apartments at? Atlantic side had a smaller component of it. It says here, all new Atlantic side units will be erected in Margarita, and on the Pacific side, 14 will go up in Cardenas. Okay, Cardenas was still an up and coming place. That was where a lot of your newer homes were. 2 in Diablo Heights, and the balance in Balboa, including 14 on Plank Street and 8 on Gavlin Road.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they were a total. Then it looks like it was a total of 48 buildings, and all but 4 of them were on the Pacific side. It says 24 of these were those duplex masonry buildings. So if you go on, when you're going in Balboa, right, you made that right turn at the police station, right, where the YMCA was, and the road kind of curved to the left a little bit. Now you're on Amador Road. The very first turn in, and it was a road that kind of went at an angle there on the left. That was Plank Street, if I'm not mistaken. And that whole row there were old wooden houses. They tore those down and they put these duplexes there. And that's where they built. I know Pat Schulte lived on one of those houses there. Devin Kane had chimed in, birthday boy, that because he lived right across the street there, right, behind St. Mary's School there, and he used to play in the dirt there before they were built. So he certainly has vivid memories of those houses going up and being, brand new, being built and whatnot. But it's kind of cool that they put then the layout, which the graphics on it's kind of hard to see, but this was basically those duplexes, right? You walked in the front door and there was a couple of bedrooms and whatnot, but that was one of the things that was cool that was going on in 74 in July. They were putting up these new houses there. Let me see, what else did they have on there? Fiddler on the Roof reservations available. So United Way's Fiddler on the Roof was presented at Balboa High School Auditorium July 18th, right on. So if you were into plays, maybe you went and saw Fiddler on the Roof. They were going to do a traffic survey in 74. This was interesting because when I think of traffic surveys, I think of them putting those big thick wires on the ground on the street, right? And you run over them and it counts the cars or whatever. But these
Oh yeah.
right, and you see them going halfway out in the lane or whatever, and attached to a box, and then I guess they pick it up a few days later. Now you know how many cars ran over it. But back in the day in 74, they actually were doing a traffic survey at various points in the canal zone to determine the feasibility of, look at this, a new highway linking Tocumen Airport with Chorrera. Back in 74. I'm wondering, Ricky, if this isn't Tumba Muerta.
No, I know what it is. It's in my part of the segment because I got.
Oh, it is okay. Yeah. Right on. Well, then I'm not
I'll
gonna.
tell you what that highway is.
Yes, excellent.
Yes.
All right,
and who
stay
paid
tuned,
for
then,
it?
people.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Right on. Okay, well, stay tuned there.
Because Willie picked up like from January to July. I picked up from August to December.
So he picked up the second half of the year, sort of.
Yeah.
I tapered in a little bit with July, but nonetheless. So they were going to do a survey there, and it's interesting because drivers on the road involved in the survey will be asked to stop briefly and provide information orally or in writing. So they actually were asking questions and stuff as you're driving, which, gosh, I can't imagine doing that nowadays. It'd be a traffic nightmare to have.
People
Everybody
will remember this project once we get into it. Unless you guys want to hear it now.
Yeah, no, we will. We'll get into it when we get to your segment there.
All right.
But again, some more stuff here on the spillway, July 5th of 1974.
So this is right in the middle of summer.
Yes.
When we're all going to the gym, or a lot of us are on stateside.
Yeah, home leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you're right, a lot of them were doing those summer programs. Remember the archery and all those other cool programs at the gym.
Oh, some of the best, man.
So there was a program here, a prenatal program to be given for Atlantic Ciders. Okay, so some health related programs here. This one was kind of cool here. This article here is talking about a 3-day hire a kid refresher program on taking care of young children. In other words, you were being certified as a babysitter. So I don't know if anybody remembers doing this in the zone in '74. If you were at that age group that you became certified in the zone to babysit, which is kind of cool. You maybe charge a little more since you're a certified babysitter. And again, one of the reasons that we like looking at these publications, I don't know how many of you guys recognize, but in the back from the representing the fire department, okay, Lieutenant J. Dietz. Remember the Dietz family?
Yes, yes.
And there he is in the back there, very recognizable because he was a big guy. He was pretty tall. So he's in the back there. That's kind of the one of the things, like I said, that I really enjoy about these spillways is recognizing familiar faces and people that we grew up, living around or dealing with. Interesting photo here of Colonel William Bungie or Bung. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Director of Coco Solo Hospital, and
Mm.
Mrs. Bung or Bungie or whatever, enjoying a morning ride on their little tandem bike there, right on in Coco
Yeah, I
Solo.
would say bungee because
Yeah.
bung sounds weird.
Yeah, that's we don't want to say that here. And then of course, what was on TV? Remember the SCN Canal Zone, which we certainly reminisce with here, but back in '74, you weren't watching TV too early in the morning. That's for sure. Look at this, weekdays, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when TV started. Okay, what were they showing? Sesame Street was on at 4 o'clock. Electric
Oh,
Company.
yeah, we had Wolfman Jack in the morning, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. It was radio in the mornings. Speaking of radio, do you guys remember? I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but remember at 12 noon on SCN, what came on at 12 noon on SCN radio? Because I used to love listening to this.
What? You didn't have like tapes and stuff like that?
Oh my God, this was the best, man. And it would start off by this, but there was a commercial in between this announcement and then the segment, and it was something like this. And I'm gonna butcher the voice inflection. It was stand by for news, and it was Paul Harvey. Remember the rest of the
Oh, of
story?
course. Yes, yes, Paul Harvey. That's right.
So
Paul Harvey.
there's a couple of YouTube channels that have nothing but the Paul Harvey stories, and I love listening to those stories. Those were so cool, man, to listen to those because at the end it was always the aha moment, whatever when he would talk about it, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that person did that, or things like that. That was really cool, Paul Harvey. Yeah, for sure. See, look at that, CZ Axis. You're on the game tonight, man. Right on, Paul Harvey, not Paul Garvey, Paul Harvey, but right on. Little
Same
fat
thing,
thumbs
same
there.
thing. We got you.
That's someone typing on their phone,
Maybe it was
probably.
Garvey.
No, it was Paul Harvey. It was, I mean, just a fantastic voice and the rest of the story. Paul Harvey's rest of the story. What an absolute fantastic show to listen to. But and then look on here also. Look at on Thursday at 5:55. What do you see there? Que pasa? But look how long it is. It's 5 minutes. It was just a very short segment, man. Just a little community stuff going on there. Flip Wilson. Friday nights, happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. And if you weren't at the yacht club, you're watching the Tonight Show. Que pasa? Bonanza, right on. Bonanza comes on. So we're
That was always a good show.
it was. Remember how it started with the fire and all the horses and all that? That
Yeah,
was
and the Canal Zone must have loved it because it was on for years.
It was. Well, that was Americana there, right? It was the old West, and it was a family, good-hearted family, all the everything that TV wanted to put out back then, which is a clean, wholesome,
We should have asked Frank Pineda how those shows were selected when we
that
had
would
him
be
on.
interesting. I wonder what. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe
I
we should
wonder.
bring him back. Yeah.
Yeah, he's about due for that for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Paul Harvey, the rest of it was very cool. Absolutely. That was just a fun show. It was, again, something clean and wholesome, and it was always a fun story. I don't think ever, if at all, or rarely was it anything sad. It was always something uplifting and really cool to hear about. Maybe we'll throw something around. Maybe on the website we'll throw it on that at 12 noon a Paul Harvey story will play on the website. That would be a cool thing. All right, see, Lori, check this out. Lori is putting on here creature feature on Friday nights. All right,
Oh,
so
yes, yes.
this is one of those long-term beefs I have with my brother. Okay, because my brother and I are 1 year apart. He's the older brother, of course, and much bigger than I am. Always has been much bigger. I've told you guys that football story, but we shared a bedroom, and my brother loves scary movies and all that shit. And when Creature Feature would come on, because everybody knows what that song was like at the beginning of that, that was just sheer terror.
Terror, right? Da-na-na-na. No,
No,
no, wait.
no,
No,
it
no.
was.
Oh yeah. Da-na-na-na.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just, oh
yeah,
my god!
yeah.
But it was that nasty old
Yeah, yeah.
scary movie organ,
With the
right?
organ,
The
yeah.
big pipe organ, man.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and dude, I would be covering my ears and with my pillows and everything, and just being my older brother, he'd make sure I had to listen to that. He'd jump on top of me and pull my hands apart, so I had to
That's an
listen to
older
it, man.
brother thing. I did that to my little
Yes, of
brothers
course
too.
it is, man. Oh my god,
Rainer
that brought
Reynaldo,
just
poor little
terror,
brothers,
man.
man.
I think that's the reason that to this day I still don't watch scary movies, man, because that just absolutely terrified me, man. But yes, Creature Feature, Lori, thanks for bringing that up. What a great memory that one was. Love American Style, that was a funny show. That was a really hip show. It was funny. America back then, you either had very edgy or super clean cut. There was nothing in between.
Sha-na-na. Remember
Yes.
Sha-na-na?
Shout
Yeah.
out, that was another good one. Fridays was another good one. Like Crawling Hand. Yeah. Oh my God, that was awful. Oh man, you see, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. Thanks a lot, Lori. Appreciate you. Jeez. No,
How
that
about
was a.
Barnabas Collins? Anybody remember him? Barnabas Collins? He was like a vampire guy.
I think so. The name does ring a bell.
That was scary too. But they might have been on Panamanian shows. But I remember I think it was in the Spanish shows.
Maybe.
Barnabas Collins.
Yeah, that was terrifying though, man. No, you're good. That's all right. Just give me a reason to drink some more. I'll have to go and refill this thing here, and I'll have to drink myself to sleep now so I don't wake up in the middle of the night. Because I do, man. Listen, I mean, even as an adult, man, I'll see something scary on TV, man, and I'll just wake up, and all sweating, terrified, man. It's a mess, man. But that was part of the zone, man. The zone experience when we actually watch TV, right? Before the internet, before social media, before everybody buries their heads in their cell phones, you actually watch TV, man. And you couldn't record it unless you had the good fortune of having a Betamax,
Betamax. Yeah,
to record it. Otherwise, yeah, you had to watch it when it came on, and part of the good old SCN Canal Zone. And then at midnight, of course, the national anthem, a little loud wailing sound or something, and the little Indian target thing, and that's it. And then the snow. And then you got to wait, what, 15 hours to watch TV again? Because God Almighty, it was 3 o'clock to midnight. What a ridiculous
Well,
amount
I
of
guess because we
time.
were all in school, you
I
really couldn't skip
guess.
school,
I
because if
guess.
you skip school, somebody would know, why aren't you in school? You need to be in school.
Well, then what would you do? There's nothing to do if you didn't skip school. Everybody's at
I'll
school. There
go
was
to the
nothing to.
bowling alley, go to the clubhouse.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that. Go play pinball.
Go
Speaking
to,
of,
yeah,
the other day, actually, Richard MacArthur posted on Facebook about the on the vending machines back in the day, because everything was very mechanical, right? There's nothing digital. The ways you could manipulate them to get free candy or get them to put two of them out or whatever. And it was funny because I commented and I said, "Yeah, you people thought hacking started with the internet age, man. This guy was a hacker back in the day, man, because he started explaining how to get the candy out of the machines, how to get the two cokes out of. Remember the pool bottles for the remember in St. Mary's the
oh
soda
yeah, yeah, yeah.
machine?
You got to pull the bottle out. Right, right, right,
Yes,
right.
you had to. Each one had its own bottle. You reach in and pull it out, and there was ways apparently that you could do that and get two of them out of it. So all the maleantes knew all the trucos, man.
Not if your dad was a cop, because I didn't know of any of those
Yeah,
trips.
I didn't either. He mentioned him on. That's why I was like, man, way to go, dude. Little little
Yeah.
little 70s hacker over here, man. Figuring stuff out. That was so cool, man. But yeah, good memories there, good times, for sure. What else was going on in 74 here? Let's see. Worker, trainees, apprentice program, hire kids, staffers to sell soft drinks. So apparently this hire kids thing was, if anyone was involved in hire kids, let us know, because I don't remember any of that hire kids thing. Um, but apparently that was.
Yeah, I never went with my dad or mom to like bring a child to work day. I don't remember that.
No, but nonetheless, check this out here. Look at this guy here. This is Andreas Nicolazin. A retired employee of the Panama Canal Organization carves an image of Christ holding a dove and a Bible on an oak tree in his front yard home in Caryville, Texas. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Old Zonian, retired Zonian, carving into a tree. Very nice. Look at that guy. But anyway, so that was 74 in the spillway. Anything else here on this last page? Let's see. College credit to be given for apprenticeships. Okay, that was a big deal. We need to do an apprenticeship program because one of the last apprenticeship classes, they were on their, I think, 40th or 50th anniversary just recently. And quite a few people that, some names that I recognize, John Hewsome and whatnot, that participated and were part of that last apprenticeship class. And that was a cool way to go from being at Balboa High School, maybe Panama Canal College or Canal Zone College that was back then, to then getting, and following in mom or dad's footsteps and be part of the Panama Canal Company, get into an apprenticeship, learn how to work in the Panama Canal, and then you got a gig there. So that's kind of cool. I want to learn about that and see who was there and what that was all about and how you got selected and all
Yeah,
that kind of
that's how you
stuff.
got into the tugboat program. Was
Yeah,
through
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
tried that. That's when I found out I was colorblind.
Oh
Because
wow.
I tried getting into that test. Because back then, if you were Panamanian, they gave you like 15 points or something like that.
Oh
I
nice.
remember, yeah, you got some points. But my uncle was no longer president, so I didn't have that palanca. Otherwise, I would
Yeah,
have been.
otherwise you
Well,
got
actually, I
30
couldn't
points.
be a canal. Yeah, I couldn't be a pilot or a tugboat because of colorblind. They're like, okay, what number do you see? I'm like, number.
Who
I
you
think I
talking about
see a
number?
7, maybe a 1. No,
Right.
you're out.
Will the following people please stand up? Helen Keller,
Yeah, like what
aka
number is
Ricky
that? What number?
Royo.
It's like, yeah, it's all these circles and the number pops out. But if you don't see green, red, and yellow like me, like what? What do you
That's
mean
funny.
number?
Not
You're
funny, but
tricking
funny.
me here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a hell of a way to find out, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, I know. I took the test. They took like the top 15. I came 19th.
Okay, right
I
on.
remember. I did good. I did good. My mom
Yeah,
made me practice for it, but
sure.
it was a lot of smart
All for
kids
nothing.
taking that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's the canal was a big operation, man, and they wanted the best people working it, so it
yeah,
stands
yeah,
to
yeah,
reason. But and then
yeah.
check out some of the positions here, job positions. Always, it's funny to see, compare salaries back then and now, right? In 1974, an electrician was making 478 an hour. A cook 246 an hour. Let's see here, a chief engineer towboat, chief engineer 669 an hour. Wow, you'd think they'd make more than that, but interesting. Let's see here. Marine traffic controller assistant, 7,000 a year, 7,700 a year. Yikes! But then again, cost of
That was
living was
big
so low.
money then because
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Canal
Of
Zone
course,
jobs were the best paid jobs in the country.
it's true because you're right. Because the YMCA back then, I remember in '74, I lived on Amador Road. YMCA, you can go get a hamburger there for 25 cents. Remember, hot dogs were
Oh
15
no, I'll
cents.
tell you what was the best thing at the YMCA were the wontons. Anybody that went to
Yes,
St. Mary's will tell you, man, that's where you got the best wonton.
and they
Period.
actually had a lot of meat in them, not that
Yes,
little pea-sized.
and juicy meat too. That
Yes,
would
it was.
that would actually had juice in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So, but anyway, this is 74 of the spillway, and then Ricky, you were doing later on. So let's
Yeah,
pull
I
up your.
picked it up in November. August 2nd.
Yep. So here we are,
Guys,
August
and you
2nd.
know me, I'm a big construction guy as well. But let me tell you what's happening in 74. A lot of big projects going on. And I want to talk about it because one of them in particular is what's just ginormous. I don't know if you guys have heard about in San Francisco, there's this building that is tilting over. And it's
Hmm.
cost half a billion dollars to fix it. Basically, the dirt underneath it, and that's why the building is coming over, right?
Yeah.
$500 million to fix it. So the reason why I'm mentioning it because in '74 there was a similar issue going on in Marifoy's locks. The dirt was giving out underneath the locks and causing cracks on the concrete floor on the sidewalls. So, the Canal Zone government said, "Yeah, we got to take this on. This is a massive construction project, guys. All right, this is not Mickey Mouse stuff." And Willie brought something up earlier. So, this is the team they put together. Mr. Herman Earhart, who I grew up with,
Mm,
his son, he was the chief
yeah.
planner. So
Nice.
he brought together for all the chiefs from maintenance and dredging, which at the time were Mr. Floyd Wright and Peter A. Warner. brought these guys together and said, "Look, we got to get in here. This is an emergency. We can't close the canal long for too long, and what are we going to do? Because it was a big erosion project." So, anyways, they came up with a plan, and in there you'll see they first did a little model. If you'll go up, you'll see that they're working right there. So what they first did, these three guys, they built a little model on how they were going to do this. Now, if you blow it up, you'll see it. Even the trucks are in there because everything had to be synchronized like a symphony.
Oh, very much so.
Because
Look
we're
at
talking about
that.
the locks, right? So every step had to be
Yeah.
synchronized. So they all did it first with these models, which I lucky for me in my career, I came at the very tail end where we did build models like that, and we did drafting by hand. Of
You
course,
know,
now
you gotta, and
everything is digital now.
I'll make sure to, Debbie Earhart is one of my classmates, class of
Yes,
'86.
that's
That's
her
her
dad.
dad,
Yeah, I
and
go
I
with
gotta,
David.
I'm gonna have to give her props. Check out Dad's mutton chops on there, man. I mean, this guy's
Oh, he
really
was the
going
coolest guy, man. He
right
was in
on,
charge.
man.
I mean, he this guy says anyways, so they get together and they take on this project, right? And listen to this, Willie. So they go in there, and of course, who shows up? Goliath. All Zonians know who this is, and Hercules,
Yep,
the two big dredging. They show up there,
and
Willie.
there
They
it
were
is.
pumping 250 cubic yards of concrete a day. They were taking out 250 cubic yards of dirt a day. I mean, 250,000. I mean, that's a lot. All right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the thing about this, they did this whole thing in 2 weeks. That's all it took
Wow,
to
that's
do this
impressive.
undertaking. The one in San Francisco, almost a year. This
Yeah,
took, and that cost $500 million.
and this was probably twice as big too.
Oh, just as big. I mean, the canal
If
is not
not
a
bigger.
light,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
maybe not
course.
as heavy, but close on weight. They
Well,
did it in,
interesting you say that. Actually, on weight, from doing my research for that Panama Canal documentary, you know, in some of the areas when you talk about how deep that they were digging that excavation, they had to go. The idea was to try and get down to the bedrock
yes,
because
that's what they had to do here. Get down to the bedrock,
right, because in
put these
theory, if you look at the
and then build
locks, the
these
way
piers in there. 250,000 cubic yards of concrete
absolutely.
poured in there.
If you think
Uh,
about what the canal looks like, guys, if you envision that, if you were to zoom out, let's say Miraflores locks, okay, that in essence is a concrete bathtub filled
mhm.
with water and several large ships. All of that weight is pressing down on that channel that was dug out to build the canal. And so, again, in theory, they wanted to get down to the bedrock where it would settle, but they couldn't. And all the other places, obviously, it was too low. And so they had to try and fill it in. But this is what ended up happening 40, 50 years later. They started to settle in, and you had this, which was basically reinforced the bottom of a bathroom where you have a tub that's starting to sink.
Yeah, so they sunk in like spider legs all the way down to the bedrock, and that's what then of course they jacked it up and they got it nice and
Yeah,
level. 2 weeks,
that's impressive.
2 weeks, $600,000, and
Look at
in two
that.
weeks they were doing 2 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week.
Some
Okay,
good
now
overtime was paid those days too,
yeah,
probably.
now on top of that, this is how good the canal zone was in efficiency. Because remember, this is the way it was from day one, right? No fluff. The At the same time they were planning to do the replace all the where is this note? They were going to replace all the stem valves in the locks, and these are the things that allow, how the locks have those big chambers when the water
Yeah,
rushes through. We've all seen
sure.
it. Well, these are the valves that control that water.
Okay.
So George A. MacArthur, I want to think this is from the great
Nice.
MacArthur family, who's the
Yeah,
assistant
absolutely.
superintendent.
That's Chili's dad.
Yeah, that's Chili's dad. Oh, this guy's a
Yeah,
stud.
George
He goes,
MacArthur.
oh, so they were planning to do this, close down one lane for like 6 months or something like that to fit, to repair this. But because he saw an opportunity that they were going to have Goliath and Hercules out there and they were going to do this big concrete job, he goes, you know what? This is the time to do it. So he got
Nice.
in there, and not only did they do that monster, shoring job or erosion control project, they called it, they also at the same time replaced all the stem valves, and the canal was only closed down for 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
So the size of that project and the project management, the canal zone was just right the heck on, man. Now
Proud to
listen
be
to this,
going with
Willie.
these people, man.
Yeah, on top of all that, let me tell you what else happened.
Yeah, but wait.
On top of all that, let me tell you what else happened. They won the National Council Award of Merit, which means that they had over 1 million man hours of construction work without a disabling injury. And that
Nice.
made them eligible for the most prestigious award, which is called the Superius Award. So
Nice. Right on.
not only were they badass project managers with the best equipment, the best labor force, but no injuries, zero, 1 million man hours. So that's what the Canal Zone was all about. You know, the people
Exactly,
who
boy.
work,
That's what a
who
Zonian is
worked
right
it.
there, man.
Yeah.
Zonians
So
are adventurous and have a good time and everything, but the canal zone that worked on the canal,
operations.
the operations people were just top notch, man. They
Well,
absolutely were class act.
yeah. Now I like this story because it applies till today. You know, one of my inside sources was telling me because I mentioned, hey, how about the sabotage? And this is before I read this article. How about the sabotage? You know, they can do this, the Chinese can do that, they can blow up the bridge, blah 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 blah. And he says, Rick, you know what the canal has? They have a dredging division. They will get rid of that in a week
Ah,
or
there you
less.
go. There you go.
So, you know, all of us that are thinking the Chinese are going to sabotage the canal, yes, you're right. They can do that. But the canal
But they're
has
limited.
years and years and
Yeah.
years of experience on how to clean this up.
And that was always a priority with the canal that when you had
Yes.
these cave-ins,
Right. And
not
that
just get them
also,
cleaned up, but immediately. I mean,
so
that was
Willie,
lost revenue when that canal wasn't operating.
right. Now, Willie, I've already mentioned two major projects, right? The shoring and the locks. You know what else happened at that time?
Mm,
What you just said. Big erosion came
yeah.
down at the same time. So they had to set Goliath and Cascada, which was the other dredger. And they
Ah,
had to get in there and round the clock,
yeah.
shove all that dirt out. Again, 250,000 cubic yards of dirt came out of the
That's amazing.
of the locks, and 750,000 cubic yards of dirt had to be removed from the sides. You know, with bulldozers and stuff like that.
Well
And
done,
that
Canal
cost
Zone.
a 500-foot widening of the you know the pathway.
Yeah. Well done,
So
Canal Zone.
you're talking about some sick construction in
No
'74.
doubt, man.
Now, this brings me to the last part of my 74, all the construction going on. You had mentioned that they did a study on how to connect Tocumen to Chorrera.
Yeah.
All right, because back then they had just built La Tumba Muerto. Remember that
Yes,
highway?
correct.
Okay. And then that would take you up to like right around where the cerveceria was. And then that loop was right there. And then you go towards
That's where you can get the Transnispian, but then
the
prior to
Haven
that, they ended up
Transnispian.
having that
Right.
friendship
And then
highway, that back road to
Right, then you had
Corunde.
to go down through Fanchipani, the
Yes.
baseball stadium, and then turn to the left to get to the bridge. That was the only way. So the Canal Zone government did this study and to help Panama alleviate that traffic,
Sure.
A and B, so that Zonians can get to the airport. They built that back road in Corundu. I don't know if you guys remember that little back road in Corundu that connected
Friendship highway.
Friendship Highway. That's what that was all about, the Friendship Highway.
That's what
It's
that
called
was.
Friendship Highway because the Canal Zone paid for it
As a
for
gift to
Panama.
Panama.
Now,
'Cause
this
that
is
was
where that,
outside of Canal Zone
yeah.
territory.
So this is where that narrative that the Canal Zone was colonial
Yeah,
and
right.
imperial and nobody from the Canal Zone ever left, all bullshit. All
Yeah.
bullshit. Sorry, guys, for my language because it makes me upset.
You're at a bar.
That
We'll
was
toast to that.
not the
Absolutely.
truth.
You're at the yacht club.
The Canal Zone government and the Panamanian government were at peace, cooperating all the time.
Yep. And look at Lori puts in. Loved how men wore guayaberas to work. Absolutely, man.
You know,
We need to bring those
Lori,
back, man. We need to
yeah,
make a
you
push.
know what? I got one. I'm going to wear
2025
one
is going
next
to be the
week.
year of guayabera. Let's do that.
I'm going to wear one next week.
Let's
Hey,
do
Lori,
that.
I got to ask you a question. The vice governor or the lieutenant governor, vice governor, listen to me. The lieutenant governor was a Hunt, Richard Hunt. Is that your father or your uncle? Or because Richard Hunt, I grew up with Richard Hunt. I wonder if that was the same Hunt
Right
family.
on. Interesting.
But the lieutenant governor was Richard Hunt at the time.
Okay.
In 74.
Very interesting.
So, guys, all that was happening at the time. A lot of construction going on in 74. But really, one of the cool things that I found that happened in 1974 during this time was, I don't know if it's on that spillway. It might have been in another one. They found in the Canal Zone this very rare stamp.
Okay.
And it's sold in New Orleans for $1,650 within
Wow.
in 74. That's a lot of money. You
Yeah, it's
already
about a
saw
15-cent stamp.
what the repay was. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
1928 Canal Zone stamp. It was worth 2 cents. It was on vermilion and black stamp. Remember that brown
Mm-hmm.
looking? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
With the face of Antonio Fernandez de Cordoba. Now, this
Okay.
all ties into the construction as well. So it was his face, but remember with David Dahlstrom told us that the Canals wanted to have their own stamp, but Panama said,
Yes.
"Okay, but we get a cut." Well, they
Correct.
put the Canal Zone across the face of Antonio Fernandez de Cordoba,
That's right.
and that's why it was so rare because of the Canal Zone seal on over his thing, and it fetched $1,650. Now, who is Antonio Fernandez de Cordoba? He was the fifth Duke of the Spanish crown in
Okay.
1550. All
Wow.
right.
Way back.
So they sent him to Panama, right? To govern. He was a governor of Panama. And Willie, you know why they sent him? Because he
Mm.
came right after Henry Morgan destroyed the Panama City.
Ah, to help
He came
rebuild.
to rebuild Panama to
Okay.
Casco Viejo, right? To what we Casco Viejo is. So
So this guy was
Panama,
known as he was like the Art Vandelay of Spain.
he was, and then he ended up dying in Panama. So
Wow.
Panama has always brought the best construction minds from an explorer mind, from having to cross the canal. I mean, the Panama
Yeah.
Isthmus. I mean, to
Listen, it
building
was
the
recognized as a very
railroad,
valuable place.
very valuable. To building the railroad, to
Sure.
setting a duke, to rebuild the
And you know what's
city.
funny, Ricky? You mentioned, how you just brought that up, about Friendship Highway and how, a lot of people look at the United States as colonial and everything. And truth is, from day one and even from way before the United States, Spain for everything that we look at Spain and and a lot of people like to look back at their families, lineage and heritage going to Spain, but Spain was the one colonizer, unlike most colonizers, that really enslaved everybody that they colonized. They didn't offer something and say, "Hey, we're going to do this for you, and in return, you do this for us."
Wait,
It
wait.
was, "Hey, we own
Minus
you
one
now."
guy. Minus one guy, Bayano, which we have talked
Yes,
about on this show.
exactly. Minus Bayano, he was the only one. He was a
They
lone wolf
whooped their
McCloud there,
asses. Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But that was, when you look at that narrative, and people like to try and bash the United States. Listen, the United States gave Panama a country, and then turn around and here's another thing bizarre about that whole arrangement. All right, you sign these treaties, right, and the canals going over to Panama and all that. Okay, I understand what happened, what the reasoning was. The one thing I really find baffling in all that, how do you negotiate that contract or that treaty and not at least leave U.S. bases there? Give them the canal zone, give the canal and everything, but at least leave Howard, for example, and Rodman, and
Oh, that
because it
might
was.
be coming. That
Well,
might
that's what
be
I'm saying,
coming.
but I always wonder, because that, according to that one paper that I saw there, remember I sent you that copy of it the other day. It's a CIA report, and that's what they're talking about is, man, get these guys out of here. And so, who knows if did they have any influence on that or not? But I always found that bizarre that in leaving, we completely left, which I never.
Yeah, once we're gonna put it up for everybody to read. Everybody should read the treaties. It's completely one-sided on Panama's side. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it totally
Yeah,
was, man. It
totally
was.
was one-sided.
But nonetheless, it happened. Nothing we can do about it now. It's
All
hard.
right.
The
In
concrete dried, man.
1974, we had a treaty that said we're gonna eventually write a treaty, which was the
Yes,
TAC Nixon TAC or
correct,
Kissinger
correct.
TAC treaty. Yeah, yeah, and that's what they were working on. Now, granted, they they spanned it out like 13 years to
Sure
finally
did.
get to the treaties of 77, but there was a treaty
Nonetheless,
at the
there
time.
was
Yeah,
stuff in the works already, for
there was some
sure.
stuff in the work, so all the intentions were right, and so whenever you hear that narrative that we were imperialist and colonial, bullshit, man. That's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
BS.
And check out Vern
And
here
I am
talking
going to
about
be the
Guayaberas. He
yeah. I'm
says
going
he
to wear
wears
one
his
next
in
week.
Wisconsin all the time in the summer. And that was the thing about Guayaberas. That's what it's considered a dress a dress shirt, a business shirt, but built for the tropics. Totally a breathing shirt. every one of the detectives in the Canal Zone Police wore guayaberas. All the time you saw them, they was all guayaberas there, man. That was, yeah. I think you know what, you're right, Ricky. Next Friday
Next
we'll wear our
weekend,
guayabera.
let's
You
work.
know,
Let's work. Yeah, let's wear them next week.
yeah,
I
for
have one. I
sure,
have one. I
man.
have
We're
one.
gonna make 2025 is gonna be the year of the guayabera. We're gonna bring it back. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Willie, my friend, we had a couple other things going on, but Willie, you're talking about these houses being built, right, and everything, and it's just really funny this thing. So you know what happened August 9th, Willie? They announced
Okay. Okay.
housing rental rates went
Of
up
course, you got new houses. You gotta have to pay for that stuff somehow. Hell
10%.
yeah.
So listen how much 10% rate on your housing was back then. $8 to $10 a month.
All right. Wow.
That's how much you're no, so it went up. But at the same time, Willie, at that same year, what else something else beautiful happened?
There
The
it is.
the canal brought in more ships came through than normal. So they made a little bit more money than they were used to making. So they paid into the insurance policy for the canal employees, and all our medical insurance had dropped 10% as well.
Okay.
So the
Right on.
canal zone was like that, you know. If there was extra money, they would pay things that would help us. So now we know in '74 there was a we already know there was a 10% pay increase. There was a 10% rental hike,
Nice.
10% drop in insurance, and then there was a 10% increase. I remember this a couple of weeks ago in their lines of credit. So in
Nice.
'74, but it was just been what a year for the people who worked
Yeah.
there.
Right. No
You
doubt,
know,
man.
pay increases, credit increases,
Good time to be a
insurance
Zonian.
goes down. I mean, these were the golden years.
Yes, they were, man. Good times indeed in the
Absolutely.
Canal Zone. Good
Yeah.
find there. Heck yeah.
Yeah. On August 19th, our very own Al Sprague had one of his at the Marine Traffic Control in La Boca, had a painting display there for everybody to go see. And
Okay.
then Willie, you know what else happened? I don't know how I missed this. The Rainbow Girls. How did I miss the Rainbow Girls? Well, anyway, they had a big fashion show that in 1974, right around August 19th, around there at the what was that building right next to St. Mary's? Scottish
Yes.
Rite Temple.
That's right. That's
They
right.
had
That's
it
the Rainbow
there
Girls.
called Back to School. All these Rainbow Girls modeling the latest. And again, Panama and the Canal Zone, Friendship, Harper's Bazaar. I don't know if you girls remember that store in Panama. They provided all the clothes for
That's
the
right.
for the
Yeah.
for the. So all these stories that you read is friendship, it's partnership, it's brotherhood. It's not. I'll give them that whole January 9th thing. I mean, not January 9th, but the whole flag thing. But
Yeah.
then again, Cristobal would show up to our football games. It would have been the same thing. High school kids just battling it out.
It was. It
One high
was.
school gang against another high school gang. And but they made it. It is what it
Overall,
is.
it was a harmonious relationship. Panama and the United States had a very
Truly
harmonious
harmonious.
relationship, and
Truly
you had your
harmonious.
fringe things here and there, but for the most part, we had harmonious relationships with the military. But every so often, you had those little brawls. I remember, the class of '87 folks, the ones right behind us. God, they and the Howard uh, kids from Howard Air Force Base. There was some brawls there, man. That was
Oh no, I know. They would disrespect our girls, and that's when everything went just.
yeah.
Like they would like my age group at one of our parties. They were grabbing all the girls as Buck
Those
Kelly.
Zonians were very possessive when they came to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff.
our girls. They were just grabbing them, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?"
Like at the yacht club, if you ever saw a typically it was a nice car going in the parking lot, you figured it's some Panamanians, and we didn't dig that too much, man, back then.
Oh,
But
I know.
we
I
were
don't know
young high schoolers.
why
You're
we had
stupid,
that problem with them.
Yeah, you're getting ready to brawl, man. Something's going down. We were very protective
Of our girls,
of
man.
our
We
girls.
were,
We took care
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
and
yeah. Even at
it
one
was
of the
very tribal.
reunions,
It
I
was
think
just
it
one of
was
those
like the
things.
'91 or '92 reunion, and we were out the pool, and these Americans showed up, and of course they see all these beautiful
Yes.
canals and women all over
Wasn't
in their
that at the Twin
bikinis.
Towers?
Yes, and
Ye
man, they went after the girls, and
Dude,
What a
you know who?
those
And,
poor Floridians did not know what hit
and
them,
you
man.
know who really took care of business on him, which I never realized he was a brawler, was Jim Norris.
Jim Norris. Yep, I was gonna say that. Jim
Yes,
Norris,
and
man.
he just
Oh God,
walloped
yeah.
this guy, man, and it was like,
Woo.
whoa, dude,
Yes, yes,
right on, man. You know, there wasn't
yes.
fist pumping
Oh my
back then, but it
God,
was like,
and it
damn,
wasn't.
dude.
Yeah, yeah. Those poor
I
guys.
remember that, man.
They thought they hit a
Oh,
gold mine with all these girls, and again grabbing them and
and he
touching them
never
inappropriately.
realized what a Zonian is, man. Yeah, no doubt, man. That was Zonian protection
Well,
all
that's how
along
we
right
were,
there,
guys. So
man.
that's how we were.
That was
Sorry
cool
about
though.
that. Well,
No,
for
but it
that,
was
well, yeah, you can diss us on that we were
no, not at
fighters
all,
when it
dude.
came
That's
to our
listen,
girls.
that's kudos. That's what we were as Zonians, especially that one, because these guys came in, they were very disrespectful, and it was borderline assaulting. I mean, they were just
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
nasty,
why. Yeah, the grabbing and
and they
stuff.
got their asses whipped, man. They, if nothing else, they'll never go to a Zonian reunion again because they
Or they
realize
won't
those
touch any
guys
of the
are
girls. That's for
badasses,
sure,
man.
man. They look at the
Yeah,
girls.
their
Oh,
lessons
hi,
were
hi, hi.
learned. That was bad. That's so funny. We both remember that and the names and everything because it's true.
I
That
know.
was
Like if you hang out with my little sister right now, we went to a football game with her. I mean, she walks around like she owns the world. I'm like, Raina,
right.
how do you get? She goes, well, you got three brothers. What do you expect me
Yeah,
to
right.
behave?
Exactly. Yeah, of
Because
course
she
you're gonna be
knows that
confident.
she's always been protected. So she's, so that's Canal's own girls right there. They've
Yeah.
always been so protected by us that they have this freedom that nothing's gonna happen to them.
Yeah.
Because when it does, things get serious.
They
They
do.
really
No,
do.
it's true. And like I said, Zonians were very protective and also very tribal because even within the zone, like you said, the Atlantic side, Pacific side rivalry was a big rivalry. It wasn't nasty, but it was a
It wasn't
rivalry.
nasty, but it was a rivalry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Bueno, hermano Willie, man, we're gonna go on to 3 hours, man. I love our
yeah,
show, but coño,
it's been
coño,
it's
coño, we have to cut it
we
off,
just get on
man.
a roll, man. We
We
just
get on
start
a
talking and
roll,
we get
man.
on a
And
roll and
look,
we
it's every week, 2 hours, 20 minutes. That's like 3 weeks in a row, Willie. We passed the 2 hours.
but we sure
Guys
do
out there, we
enjoy it.
try to do it 1 hour and 30 minutes, but Willie and I are just radio bembas, bro. Guys,
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
because
we
we
neither one of
love
us,
what we
but
do, man. We
we do. We
love
have such a
informing
good
you.
time, Ricky.
We
This is
love
such a
informing
blast.
you.
This
It's
and
so
going back
important.
memory lane, and then having people throw stuff out there in the chats. It just it's zone, man. It's all about the zone, and it's
And how
I
to
love doing it. I
love the
I
zone.
love having everybody on here. So, but yeah, once
Another
again,
great night.
another great night it was, and we're gonna go ahead and start.
Our countdown. Sorry, guys, but I'm starving over here.
You know, So, a couple of things that we want to cover next week. We want to go through that Panama segment, go back in Panama time. There is some things we talked about tonight that we're going to certainly go into more detail with regards to the Panama Canal relations, right? And I think where you're going to see the focus, a lot of that start changing now is more so along Venezuela, and what that relationship entails, and I think that's where you're going to see Panama and the United States align quite a bit, right? And so
Oh,
we're going
and
to talk
the
about that.
border issue. And the border issue. They're
Also,
closing
for
that
those of you,
border down.
yeah, no, and with the whole immigration thing, and now there's still a lot of stuff, a lot of people that are going to be sent back to countries, and that's going to be a point of
Oh,
contention
that
as
started
well.
today. They started that today.
Yeah,
They
but
booted everybody out today.
next week, the other thing that we're going to talk about, which we talked a lot about during the week on Facebook, was the Christmas tree burn. Tomorrow is the Christmas tree burn in Cardenas.
Artemis.
So pictures, video, see Cardenas, right? Tomato. But if you're down there, please take pictures and videos, send them up to us. We'd love to chat about it. Also, I want you guys to come up with your stories about your raiding parties when you stole some trees or when you defended your trees and stuff. Let's have a lot of fun with that Christmas tree burn because that was a big Zonian event, man, and I really want to go back to that again. But again, guys, awesome show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being involved and chatting with us. Ricky, again, appreciate having you every week and starting the weekend off with you. So get us out of here, my man.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, guys. We truly love you. We love the time we spent with you, and we love what we do for you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
One last toast. Salute, everybody. Look at that view. Doesn't get old, does it?